as Linda Moore and her rink of Lindsay Sparks, Debbie Jones, and Penny Ryan were winners of a demonstration sport gold medal at the Calgary Olympic Winter Games. That triumph served to reinforce the strength of Canada's women curlers, who over the past 4 years have won the World Curling Championship. Today we take you to Fredericton, New Brunswick, and the Aitken Center located on the campus of the University of New Brunswick. Today, Canada will determine its 1988 ladies champion and representative for the Women's World Championships in April in Glasgow, Scotland. When play began 1 week ago, 11 teams were attempting to dethrone defending champion Pat Sanders of Victoria, British Columbia. CBC Television Sports presents Curling 88. Fredericton, New Brunswick, it's the Scott Tournament of Hearts for the Canadian Ladies Curling Championship. Curling club in Victoria, skipped by defending champion Pat Sanders. Facing the Ontario champions from the Lakehead Curling Club at Thunder Bay, skipped by Heather Houston. Hi everybody, I'm Don Whitman, and it's nice to have you with us this afternoon as CBC Television begins coverage of the major curling events for 1988. And it's a pleasure to be working once again with two-time Canadian and world champion Don Duguid. You're going to be providing your expertise and analysis. And yesterday, Don, Team Canada, represented by Pat Sanders, had a day off. But it was a very busy day for Heather Houston and her Ontario champions.
Well, anytime that you play 3 games in one day, you've had a tough day. But they played very well. Houston herself, Don, curled 84%, and that's unbelievable in this kind of competition. But today, she's up against a very tough opponent. Pat Sanders all week has led the very competitive, and she's going to give Houston all she can handle.
Houston yesterday defeated Manitoba in the morning, BC in the afternoon, and then in the semifinal last night beat Michelle Schneider of Saskatchewan 7-4. But it was a close game going into the 9th end, Ontario leading by a 5-4 margin.
Well, Michelle Schneider missed a couple of real important shots earlier on in the game. She found herself one down play in the 9th end. She had a chance to hit in Y2 here, Don, and she's trying to corner it, roll into the forefoot, and force Ontario to make a good shot. But you see, she hits the rock straight back onto her own and leaves Ontario lying second shot. Now, all week long, Houston has played exceptionally well. These fine, delicate tap-back shots and the hits and rolls has been her forte all week. And she wasn't about to miss this one because this would give her a commanding lead of 3 points going home. And you'll see she hits it perfect, rolls to the forefoot, and now that gives her a 7-4 lead.
And Saskatchewan simply ran out of rocks on the 10th end as Houston led her Ontario rink into today's championship game against Pat Sanders of Victoria. Joining Don Duguid and myself in providing some expertise and analysis for this afternoon's telecast, a former Canadian champion, the lady who won it all in 1982, Colleen Jones of Halifax. Colleen, welcome.
Thank you very much, Don. It certainly is a pleasure to be here. It has been a terrific week of curling, although at the beginning of the week, you couldn't help but notice the absence of the so-called name curlers, with the exception, of course, of Team Canada's Pat Sanders. However, as the week progressed, you soon realized that all these curlers here sure could curl. Let's take a quick look at the standings. You'll see that Team Canada and Saskatchewan both finished with identical 9 wins and 2 losses. Now, Canada was given the bye into the final because they beat Saskatchewan during the round robin. Then there was a logjam for 3rd place. Ontario, British Columbia, and Manitoba all finishing with 7 and 4 win-loss records. Then Newfoundland, the gals with the kilts, finished with a 6 and 5 win-loss record. Then there was quite a logjam between Alberta, New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, and Quebec, all finishing 4 and 7. Nova Scotia was 3 and 8, and it was the Territories at 2 and 9. And now we are down to just 2 teams left. Ontario's Heather Houston and Team Canada skipped by Pat Sanders. For Houston, after surviving the day of tiebreakers and then winning the semifinal game, this game today against Team Canada is her biggest test.
I think to a certain extent it was a little bit worse the beginning of the week. The first microphone, the first interview, the first just about everything for me this week. So I'm starting to get a little bit more comfortable with everybody being around and asking questions and being interested in what we're doing. And we feel very good today.
What are your thoughts going into this final game?
I want to play a great game for national television. We have a good idea of what we're going to have to do. It's going to depend a lot on probably back-end shots, because both the front ends are playing extremely well. The back end is going to have to be pushed a bit.
Pat Sanders, what are your thoughts going into this championship final?
We realize that Ontario is a strong finesse team. We're hoping that our draw weight will be really strong this game and that we will come out on top.
Thank you very much, Pat. Good luck. Pat Sanders, skip of Team Canada, playing Heather Houston from Ontario. Our live coverage of the Scott Tournament of Heart Championship game is just about set to begin. Stay with us.
The Scott Tournament of Heart, brought to you by Scott Paper, makers of Cottonelle, Purex, Scotties, and Scott Towels Jumbo. We built our reputation around the house.
If you've ever wondered what Purex softness is made of, it's very plain to see. Oodles of pillows galore with softness you're bound to adore. They nestle and jiggle in rows as off to the puffer they goes. Softness and puff and all that nice stuff, that's what Purex softness is made of. We put hundreds of soft little pillows in every sheet. It's softness you can see.
Life, a symbol of prosperity. And Sun Life has been part of our prosperous Canadian way of life for well over 100 years. Why are over 2.5 million Canadians protected by a Sun Life policy today? Innovative products, such as non-smokers policies, inflation-fighting annuities, and many other ideas. Ideas that can really make a difference to your life. Sun Life can help you get the best out of life.
With all the talk of changes in the tax laws, many Canadians want answers on how their income tax returns may be affected.
The experts at H&R Block always get me the answers I need, plus the biggest refund I have coming.
Tax laws confuse me, so I go to H&R Block. And this year, I'm getting $550 back. Let us answer your questions. We'll get you the biggest refund you have coming.
Hi again, everybody, and welcome back to the Aitken Center in Fredericton, New Brunswick. Play just getting underway in this championship game between Ontario, represented by Heather Houston of Thunder Bay, and the defending champion Pat Sanders of Victoria. Sanders this afternoon attempting to become the first Canadian female to put together back-to-back championships since Vera Pieser accomplished the feat for Saskatchewan in 1972-73. Actually, Saskatchewan had quite a run at the Canadian Ladies Championship, winning successfully in 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, and 74. Deb Masillo, the lead for Team Canada, attempting the removal of that Ontario stone sitting at the top of the 12-foot ring. I think Don Duguid, in the first few ends, the two rinks will be rather cautious, feeling each other out.
Well, they will, but, you know, they've practiced on this ice before the game, so they know how it runs. You saw Tracy Kennedy put the rock right exactly where Skip Heather Houston wanted it, and Deb Masillo just chipped it out and cleared it away. So they have a pretty good idea how the ice runs. A big off the center line. When it gets onto the center line, the rock will curl whether you're playing the in-turn or out-turn. So you have to watch for that. And, of course, as the ice keens up, it'll maybe curl a bit more.
Tracy Kennedy, the lead for the Ontario champions, has husband Bruce here watching. And if that name sounds familiar, it should. He was with Al Hackner when they won the Canadian and World Curling Championship. And, of course, Hackner will be in Chicoutimi beginning tomorrow as the Canadian Men's Championship gets underway, the battle for the Labatt-Brier Tankard, and will be in Chicoutimi next Saturday and Sunday for the semifinal and the final. That Kennedy stone comes to rest to the right of the center line, and Deb Masillo is asked to remove that stone by Team Canada skip Pat Sanders.
You'll see that rock running very straight on the out-turn side. Any kind of weight at all, Don, it'll run very straight. Nice hit and roll, exactly what her skip wanted. A little roll to the, covering the edge of the 12-foot, and a good shot by Deb Masulo.
Since Deb Masulo appeared on our telecast last year in Lethbridge as they won the Canadian and then the World Championship, she has become engaged, and she said we should say hello to Brian Goodwin, her fiancé up in Timber Ridge, who is watching this afternoon's telecast. Diane Adams, the Ontario second, 23 years of age. Neither of these sides are going to be overthrowing the stone. They've really just been throwing enough takeout weight to punch the rock through the rings in all the games we've watched over the past couple of days.
Well, the ice runs very straight, and you don't have to throw big weight to make contact with the rock that you're aiming at. You know, you can just throw back ring weight, and it'll run fairly straight. The brushers or the sweepers will keep it on line, and that's the advantage of having nice quick ice and straight ice, that you can maybe throw it a bit inside and get away with it. And once again, Pat Sanders doesn't want anything out in front. She wants to hit and roll to the corner somewhere and maybe get a chance to duck around it. She has the advantage of last rock. Georgina Hawks peels it off nicely and rolls away.
Well, for those who watched our telecast last year of the Canadian Championship and the Women's World, there has been a change on this Team Canada rink. Not in personnel, but in positions. Georgina Hawks is playing second, and Louise Herlenvaux has moved to third stone. Houston calls upon Adams for that in-turn draw once again. Her husband is playing in the Canadian Men's Championship. He is with the Al Hackner rink. And what a strong field that is for the Brier getting underway tomorrow.
Well, the type of Brier that anybody can win, I'll tell you that.
Al Hackner, a two-time champion. Paul Savage and Ed Wernick, a former combination with Wernick then at the head end that won in 1983. Carrie Burtnick, a former champion. Eugene Ritzik, Pat Ryan. Wow, that should be a dandy competition. The folks in Chicoutimi are in for quite a treat at the Labatt Brier, as the spectators here at the Aitken Coliseum in Fredericton have been this week with this Canadian Women's Championship, the Scott Tournament of Hearts. Georgina Hawks going after that Ontario stone just in across the hog line.
Our viewers can see it now. It starts to pull onto the line, just starts to make a little bit of a move, and she just catches the corner of it. Not much weight, just pushed it just to the sideboards.
Something a little different in this year's competition. This has been the year of the designated rocks. No longer does a coin toss determine which side gets last rock.
I like that rule, you know, Don, because so many times when you're tossing the coin, you might only win 3 out of 11 games. And so this is, I think this is a fairer system. I also like the system where maybe before you go out, you throw one to the rings, and who's ever close to the button gets the advantage of last rock. That's kind of a skill type way to get last rock, but I kind of like that idea too. But this is a major change, and I think it's a good change for ladies curling.
Lorraine Lang, the wife of Rick Lang, who will be throwing third stones for Al Hackner in the Brier, watches this stone slide just to the top of the 12-foot. It actually bites the 12. Ontario lies 1. Lorraine, of course, was a member of that Canadian Mixed Championship squad in 1981. She was throwing lead as her husband Rick skipped the rink. They beat a former Canadian and world champion to win that title at the Wildwood Club in Winnipeg. Rick Folk of Saskatchewan was the victim of that fine curling by the Northern Ontario representatives. Louise Herlenvaux is going to get a nose hit, and she pushes that red Ontario stone through. So 2 rocks in play, both belonging to Team Canada, both resting outside the rings.
But it'll really be interesting here to see if Heather Houston goes around this one. But that rock is fairly close to the rings, and there is a chance Team Canada could maybe split and roll it in if Houston happened to miss the draw. But she's not taking any chances. Because it's close, she's running that front one off. And she'd like Lang to hit it right on the nose and stay right there. She may roll away to the corner here. may prove an opportunity for Pat Sanders maybe to go in around the corner. You see that rock rolling to the right-hand side there, off the center line. I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see Pat Sanders go in behind it very early.
Well, it appears that is the decision she has made. No, she's going to go to the other side.
Well, she's going to go around her own. And the reason for that, Don, is that rock that she's going around is a lot further out in front of the rings. You know, you can go by that corner guard by 4 or 5 inches and go in behind and still bury. The other one is fairly close to the rings. You have to just squeeze by that one on the right-hand side to get it buried. So this is a good call by Pat Sanders. A little bit more room between the rings and the rock that's out in front. So it's a good call by Pat. And not only that, she's going around her own rock as opposed to an opposing rock. Erlenvo looks like she has a lot of weight. She certainly has a lot of room.
Now they brush it back. They want to take it as far back as they possibly can, but it will be exposed to an in-turn hit. Erlenvu wanted to bury that stone a little more, but it didn't bend as much as they had anticipated.
Well, the first end, the pebble hasn't worn off on that side. There hasn't been too many rocks played down there. And it's still a little bit stiff, so it's going to run a little bit straighter. It's not as keen as maybe down the center.
Lorraine Lang, who was holding the broom, said that husband Rick was doing the babysitting up until yesterday back home in Thunder Bay when he left for the Briar. I think this might be the first year that the possibility exists of husband and wife both winning Canadian championships. As a matter of fact, 2 members of this Ontario team could be Canadian champions with their husbands also Canadian champions. Jim Adams and Rick Lang curling for Al Hackner. I don't know whether that has ever happened before.
I can't recall it ever happening before, but it's certainly an interesting scenario.
Good shot by Houston. Will she get a bit of a roll? No, a nose hit. But she does remove that Team Canada rock. Ontario lies 1. We're in the first end of this Canadian Women's Championship here at the Aitken Center in Fredericton, New Brunswick.
That's the advantage of having last rock the very first end. The other skip throws first, and if you have to play the same shot, they kind of show you the way down. So for Pat Sanders here, she just went to school on Heather Houston's take out there. She knew exactly the weight that Heather threw at it, so she's going to throw maybe exactly the same weight, maybe a little bit quieter, try to get the inside roll. If she gets the inside roll, she's going to be buried.
Well, for those not familiar with that rule we announced about the designated rocks, the yellow stones have last rock advantage in the first end on all sheets, and if you're drawn for the yellow stones, well, you're going to get that last rock advantage. And in this championship game, the yellow stones belong to the Pat Sanders rink from Victoria.
We're watching it very close. She's still a long way out there. Now it's starting to move a bit. She's not going to get the inside roll. They're going to try to move it way over into the center, and she does. She rolls to the back of the forefoot. They're doing a little bit of house cleaning down. It looked like maybe Pat Sanders picked up something on her sliding foot, because they're having a good, strong look at it there. And you see Kennedy talking to Pat Sanders.
So that rock delivered by Sanders sits in the forefoot. Team Canada lies 1.
Now for Heather Houston, this is a fairly routine hit. You can see she's taken about 3 inches of ice, and she'll just throw her normal takeout weight, which might be board weight or bumper weight that is behind the hack. And they've thrown about 4 or 5 rocks down in that area, so she knows how it's going to work.
The loud?
Sanders and Georgina Hawks talking, and they felt maybe she was just a little outside. But there's no error with this delivery by Heather Houston. She is right on target, and Ontario lies 1 with 1 rock still to be played on this opening end.
And that little bit of a roll by Heather Houston has forced Pat Sanders to play the outturn. There haven't been too many outturn rocks thrown in that area inside the center line. So this is kind of a guess for Pat Sanders, but I'm sure she feels that it'll run very straight because she hasn't taken much ice, maybe about 3 inches of ice. And
Wait up, son, roll
you can
out.
see the brush being held by
Come
Louise
at the end,
Herlin-Bowe.
though,
And she'll throw a pretty good weight at it. She'd like to roll away, roll out of the rings and blank this end and have the advantage of last off in the second end. They're yelling, hurry, now it's starting to move.
She was attempting to roll out, but she's going to get a nose hit, a bit of a roll, but it stays in the forefoot. So Team Canada picks up a single point on this opening end. So after one end of play in the Scott Tournament of Hearts, it's Team Canada 1 and Ontario nothing.
He might be the coach, but believe me, he skates every race.
At 3M, we understand Olympic dreams don't happen alone. When you buy official 3M or Scotch brand products, 3M will make a contribution to Olympic coaching.
Sometimes it's like a second parent. I know he won't always be my coach, but he'll always influence my life. Supporting the dream.
3M, supporting the dream.
She's Scotty's little softie, and she can stop a sneeze. Scotties are her best friend, my darling. Aww, she can wipe away each tear for everyone that's dear. Scotties are soft for all my friends. She can wipe away your makeup just as quickly as you please. Scotties are so gentle on my skin, darling. Scotties soften the blow.
Honda presents the only four-wheel drive wagon that adjusts to four-wheel drive automatically. Imagine how it will perform in more tropical climes, like Edmonton. Both of these latest wide-body models offer roomier, more comfortable seats and extra leg room. One, however, has an added feature. Your luggage will always arrive when you do.
Next week on Sports Weekend, Saturday, a World Cup downhill. The men premiere at Vail, Colorado. And on Saturday and Sunday, semifinal and championship action of the Labatt Brier from Chicoutimi, Quebec. Olympian Ed Lukowich was the '86 Canadian champion. Plus, the women's ski a World Cup downhill from Rossland, British Columbia, Saturday. The following day, coverage of the giant slalom from the same location.
Welcome back to the Scott Tournament of Hearts. I have a very special guest with me right now, fresh from the Olympic Games with the gold medal still around her neck, Linda Moore, skip of the Olympic curling team. You must be very, very proud. I know all Canadians are.
Well, we're very proud. I don't know how fresh I am. I'm still a little tired. It was a tiring week, but it feels great.
Can you tell me about the Olympic feeling? How did it compare to, say, your win here at the Scott Tournament of Hearts and the World Championship?
It's really hard to compare. At the Scott Tournament of Hearts and the Worlds, you're one curling event, very isolated. At the Olympics, you're part of a great big Canadian team, and it's a whole new experience. Getting up on the podium when we won the gold medal was unlike anything we've felt before. It was really terrific.
Is there life after the Olympics? How do you go back to ordinary living?
It's hard to go back to reality. 2 weeks of being in the Olympics was really different, but we're all getting back to work and things are settling down. None of us are really sure what's happening next year with curling either, so it will take some time and just think about it.
What about when you come to an event like this, Linda? You know, you have been here before. Are you itching to get out on the ice and go curling?
Well, I thought I would be, but we had geared our whole year for the Olympics, the training, the preparation, and once that was finished and we'd reached our goal, I'm just happy to watch.
You have seen a bit of the curling. You just arrived the other day, but what do you think of it so far, the caliber of play?
Oh, it's great, and I think the game today will be really exciting. I know Team Canada's ready to get out there and win again.
Now, a very special announcement the other day. Lindsay Sparks, your third stone, just named to the Hall of Fame. Congratulations on that. Good talking to you, Linda. We're going to go back up to Don and Don for second end action of the Scott Tournament of Hearts. Don.
Colleen, right now, the Canadian team has 2 stones sitting in the rings at the back of the 8-foot, and the Ontario second Diane Adams will be attempting to remove those with the in-turn, but that Ontario rock sitting just out in front of the house is providing some cover for those two stones in the house.
Well, Tracy Kennedy missed peeling that front one on close to the rings. Team Canada went in behind it. Here's a good shot by Diane Adams. Nice draw weight. You can see it runs very straight because it never curled very much, and she just has draw weight. She is shot rock, but that rock never moved 3 inches from the hog line in, and normally it should. So a good shot by Diane Adams, and Pat Sanders taking a long, hard look at it. She knows now that she has to play very quiet wig. She's asking Georgina Hawks just to come down and hopefully hit it on the inside, push it by her own, that is the back of the forefoot, and end up lying 2 or maybe 3. The trouble for Georgina Hawks here, of course, is that if she throws it too strong, it'll run very, very straight. You hear him yelling, whoa, whoa. Masulu and Herlinville watching it closely. Now it's starting to make a move, and it's still out there. It's got a lot of curling. As a matter of fact, on just as it gets to that guard, it straightens up. She's got a good shot. Doesn't quite end up lying 2, but a good shot by Georgina Hawks.
Well, she pushed the shot stone, the red-handled rock belonging to Ontario, back onto one of her own, but she did not remove that red-handled rock. Team Canada still has the shot rock, second shot stone belonging to Ontario, and it will be very difficult for Ontario to get that yellow rock in the forefoot out of there without disturbing the red-handled stone in the 8-foot circle.
Well, for Heather Houston, she's just asking Diane Adams to come down, Donnie. Even if she hits it a little bit on the inside and kind of gets in behind the center guard, it'd be a great shot. She'd lose her own that's in the back of the 8-foot, but she'd like to bury her shooter. Look at that rock. It is way out there. They haven't rushed at all. She's got good weight. Now it's starting to move a little bit. It really stops up a little short of where you want it.
Well, this is developing into a rather interesting end. 5 rocks in the rings, 1 stone sitting out front. Shot stone belongs to Team Canada.
Well, for Team Canada, Pat Sanders, do you put the guard right here, or do you try to come down and maybe hit this one and roll into the inside?
And that's what Louise Herlinville and Pat Sanders are discussing.
Yeah, we could, but if we stay out, then we could be in trouble. I think the guard's a good shot in this position. Yeah.
Well, you heard Pat Sanders say to Louise Herlinville, I think the guard is a good shot. It is a good shot because it runs so straight there, Don. If she puts it on, it's going to be very difficult for Heather Houston to get at that shot rock.
What did you mean, though, when she said if it stays out, it could be in trouble?
Well, if she stays out, then it allows the opportunity for Heather Houston to have Lorraine Lang come down and maybe raise the one that's in the top of the 8-foot onto the one at the back, and they'll end up lying 2. It's a tough shot, but the possibility is there. So for Sanders, she wants to make sure that she covers that full red rock that's in the top of the 8-foot guarding her own. She certainly doesn't want it to pull over and run the front one off. But it runs fairly straight there, Don. The sweeper should be able to hold it up. 2 good sweepers can keep that rock very straight. She's got a lot of weight. She's right on line. Her line is perfect. Oh, that's a good shot.
Well, she has put a guard on the stones sitting in the house. There are actually 2 rocks out front now protecting that cluster of 5 in the rings. 1 belonging to each side. It appears as though Heather Houston has decided to try and push her own back.
Well, that's a good, I think you've got to open up the front. You may even want to come down here and hope to drive this one over here and clear both those rocks off and maybe play for your first rock if you're the skip. But you have to remove that guard because they are in such a position that there's no way you can get at that one in the 4-foot belonging to Team Canada. So you have to run one of them off. And there is a chance here for Lorraine Lang maybe to drive it back and maybe just pick that Team Canada one out. But I think they're just quite happy if they just run on one of those corner guards off. You can see it runs very straight. Houston watching it very close, staying on the outside of the center line. Now it's starting to make a move.
She's going to move that stone, but she isn't really going to do any damage. She does open it up a little, however. But the stones in the top of the 8, the back of the 8, and in the 4-foot circle are still protected by that Team Canada guard sitting out front.
Well, Pat Sanders is looking at all kinds of possibilities here.
There is the chance of an angle raise on that red stone, and that could enable Ontario to lie 3.
Well, what she's looking at, she's first looking at maybe coming down here, hitting this one, and rolling her shooter in here, because this one is partially guarded. But I think she's decided on, and this is the right shot, maybe put it up here and really cover off that 4-foot area. That's a good call. She's got one on the corner of the 4-foot. It's pretty tough to angle raise any of those, but she's playing a very conservative shot here, but a good shot.
I was actually thinking ahead to the angle raise possibility that might exist for Ontario if she didn't make this shot.
Yes, on the far outside one, that is a possibility. This rock is staying a long way out. You can see it's well out on the other side of the center line. It's got to do some moving. It's got to curl a bit. No, sir, it doesn't come over far enough.
So now what does Heather Houston opt for?
I think what Heather Houston has to do is play the out-turn takeout and just try to touch that one. You see where she's putting the brush right now, right on the center line? Now she's asking Lorraine Lang to come down, play the out-turn, and she can see about a quarter of that rock, and if she just touches it and moves it, she's going to be lying 3, maybe 4. Now the danger for Lorraine Lang here, Don, is that the rock on the outside of that center line runs very straight. And sweepers have to be very alert, as does Heather Houston, because once the rock on the outturn starts to curl to that center line, it will move, and they got to be careful that it doesn't move too much and rub one of the front ones. So this is has to be closely watched by Heather Houston, and the sweepers, Adams and Kennedy, have to watch it very closely.
They start brushing about halfway down the ice, watching the path of this rock. Will she get a corner of that yellow Team Canada stone?
She's close. She's got a great looking shot. A good shot, but a little bit of hard luck for Lorraine Lang, because she had, if they had been on it sooner, Don, they would have hit a little bit thinner. She could have been lying 4, maybe pushed it by the Team Canada rock. Look at, you see the front end doing a good job of sweeping here. You'll see it gets by the front guard. That's the guard on the top of the edge of the 4-foot they have to get by, and they get by it just by about a quarter of an inch, and she hits it just a fraction too thick and drives it on to one of her own. If she hits it thinner, she could end up lying 4. Now for Saunders, she would love to hit this one and roll behind cover again. Either way, in-turn roll or the out-turn roll, and I think Pat Sanders understands that.
If she makes the hit here, Team Canada will again be lying 2. Last rock advantage on this second end belongs to Ontario. Canada scoring 1 on the first end. Pat Sanders and her rink, the defending champions, they won the title last year in Lethbridge. Since the Canadian champion was given an automatic berth in the following year's event, no team has successfully defended.
Pat Sanders gave that one a little bit of a flick at the end. When she come out, she was right on the broom, and she just kind of put it back onto the broom so that it floated a bit as soon as she let it go. And that rock is way up there. She's missed it. Oh, she got a little bit of a break, though, because she rolled and covered the one on the button belonging to Ontario, but put another rock out in front.
Now, what about the raise here? And I think that's what Houston and Lang are looking at, because there is a chance to get a couple here.
Well, what they're looking at, they're coming down, they want to hit this one, and if they hit this one perfect, it go on to this one, and maybe drive this rock out in that area there. If she can pull this shot off, there's going to be a good chance she's going to be lying 4. It's a tough shot, Don, but if she hits it just a little bit on the outside and it stays fairly straight there, she could end up lying 3 or 4.
10 rocks in play.
This is curly.
Georgina Hawks and Pat Sanders watching intently.
Well, there are so many possibilities here. Heather Houston can hit this one a little bit too thin, hit her one, drive it onto the one in the button, and the one that she hits could spin off and take out the Team Canada rock. So there's a lot of possibilities here. Lang watching it very closely. Now they're starting to brush very hard. She hasn't thrown much weight, I'll tell you that. They're going to have to go on this. Oh, she threw it a little bit too quiet. She's just going to move it back. She's going to end up lying 2.
She raised her own back, but not far enough to remove that yellow Team Canada stone, but Ontario does lie 2.
Well, Pat Sanders have really got herself in a dilemma here now, Don. You see the shot they're looking at, but what Pat Sanders has got to be very careful of is that she doesn't come down here, hit this one on the outside and drive it on and take her own out. You'll see the one they're picking out here. They're trying to maybe hit this one and roll their shooter in here somewhere, at least to get second shot. If they get it in for second shot, it's going to be very difficult for Ontario to get more than 1.
Well, there's also the possibility there that if she hits that rock on the outside of the 8-foot ring, it could roll onto the shot stone on the button.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Okay. Anytime you get 11 rocks in play, anything can happen, especially when they're all grouped in the 8-foot and the 4-foot.
Think the outturn? Okay.
She's decided to play the outturn. I think she feels that maybe the in-turn falls back so much that she wants to play the outturn coming into the curling rock.
Well, situations such as this may quicken the pulse rate of the competitors, but it certainly makes for interesting viewing for the curling fans who are watching.
Well, that's what you want. You want a lot of rocks in play, a lot of angle raisers and freezes and double takeouts and double takeout attempts. And, you know, if you get a little bit of movement to the ice, these curlers can put on a show you won't believe.
To the last, George. Big weight.
See her saying just a little bit less.
No, they haven't allowed men to participate in this women's championship. Georgina Hawks is affectionately referred to as George by the other members of the rink. And it's interesting, although she is throwing second stones, she holds the frisbee.
Exactly. Oh, once again, Pat Sanders threw it well out there, Donna. She's got a lot of weight. That rock is starting to move a bit. She maybe go through the hole and drive it right onto her. Oh, no, what a break. Oh, she was very, very fortunate there.
She moved a lot of granite around. The end result, Ontario still lies 1, but she could have left Ontario lying 3 or maybe even 4, but she got a break on that one.
Well, she got a break that she just touched the rock. You'll see it coming down here. If she does not touch that rock, she goes through that opening and drives the Ontario rock onto her own. Look at it. She just touched it. She got a lot of action, hit 2 Ontario rocks and spun out, and she ends up lying second shot. So she is very, very fortunate.
She actually pushed 2 of the Ontario rocks out of the rings, rolled the shot rock back a little into the back of the 4, and her shooter...
I had to touch it really thin, but I just needed just a little bit more of it.
Her shooter actually came off one of those rocks and went forward in the rings, back up into the 8-foot circle.
That's right, a lot of spinning action on the rock. By hitting 2, she just chipped one, hit the face of the other one, and started spinning up towards the top of the 8-foot.
So now Heather Houston has a chance to pick up 2 on this second end.
Way out there.
Looks like she has lots of weight. They haven't laid a brush to it yet. Lorraine Lang watching it closely.
She's trying to raise her own back into the top of the 4-foot.
Oh, she's got a nice looking shot. She's going to be maybe a little bit too strong. No, she's going to score 2. Good shot by Heather Houston.
So Heather Houston takes advantage with last rock on the second end. And Houston raises one of her own back into the back of the 4. And Ontario picks up a pair on end number 2. So after 2 ends of play at the Scott Tournament of Hearts here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, it's Ontario 2 and Canada 1.
Strange how many automobiles portrayed as state-of-the-art have become mere illusions of innovation. Enter the Acura Legend Coupe, named 1987 Import Car of the Year by Motor Trend. It is shattering preconceived ideas of what a performance automobile should be. The Legend Coupe, precision craft of performance from Acura.
It was important to get this thing working again. That's why I went to H&R Block's Cashback service to get my income tax refund right away.
With Cashback, we give you a check for 85% of the first $300 of your refund and 95% of the rest.
H&R Block's Cashback was the answer, and no extra charge for preparing my return.
More Canadians want their refund for something that can't wait. Get it fast. Just look for the Cashback sign.
The original is back. Leon's Don't Pay a Cent event. Buy the quality home furnishings you want today, and don't pay a cent till August. Save on Canada's largest selection of brand name home furnishings. Plus, pay no money down, no interest, and make no payment till August. Guaranteed lowest prices. Plus, you don't pay till August. Canada's original Don't Pay a Cent event, only at Leon's. Don't you dare miss it.
Hello, everyone. We are back live here on CBC Sports Weekend, the championship game of the Scott Tournament of Hearts. Ontario's Heather Houston is playing Team Canada, skipped by the small but mighty Pat Sanders, who is trying to become the first skip to win back-to-back titles here at the Scott Tournament of Hearts. 1987 will be a year Pat Sanders will never forget. Her British Columbia rink beat Manitoba to clinch the Scott Tournament of Hearts, and from there it was on to conquer the world. A great year, yes, and when it was over, she got a few tips from former champ Linda Moore to help her prepare for her title defense.
She said that we should try and go to, say, one cash spiel a month in the fall, and then go to Europe and not watch any kind of playdowns at all, so that when we finally did get to the Canadians, we would be peaking, and I think that her words of wisdom have really helped us.
But things weren't always so rosy. For example, at the Olympic trials in Calgary last spring, the team was bickering.
We were really burnt out going into Calgary. And after you've spent 2 weeks with the same girls in the same room, you don't really want to see each other. So Calgary was pretty hard on us.
But all that's behind them now, and the feuding brought about a change, one that has only strengthened the team. Pat moved third stone Georgina Hawks down to play second stone and promoted Louise Herlenveau up to third. The change worked.
Well, Georgina was a little, having a few problems playing third, just psychologically. So we thought, well, we'll switch Louise and Georgina around. Louise has been curling really well. And George has just come on as a super strong second, and psychologically, she's right in the game now.
There's little question Pat Sanders is one of the best female shot makers in the world, and that's not just luck. She stays sharp by playing the guys in a Super League back home in Victoria.
Every time we go out and curl the men, we have to curl fairly consistently or we get blown off the ice.
And getting blown off the ice is something that doesn't happen to Pat very often. And today, as she tries to become the first repeat Scott Tournament of Heart champion, she knows one thing for certain. The team is finally clicking.
I've been struggling a little this year, and I've been waiting for the week when it would all come together, and my team's been struggling a little, and I think that in this week we've finally got our act together, and we've just curled really well.
Well, they have been curling well all week. They demonstrated their many talents in leading the round robin and advancing to this championship game. Ontario, as we pointed out, had to go through a couple of tiebreakers and then win the semifinal against Saskatchewan. Ontario leads by a score of 2-1, and there are 3 stones in play right now, all belonging to Team Canada, all sitting out in front of the rings.
Well, the thing for Team Canada is they're off to the side, Don, so there may be a chance that they can get around it and get in behind cover and get something started. I think they were a little bit fortunate that end. Like, they didn't have maybe 3 or 4 scored on them. Pat Sanders a little bit fortunate with her last draw, because if she could have come down and could have been a free draw for Ontario. You know, interesting enough, Ontario, this is their 15th game, and this is the 12th game for Team Canada. Of course, Ontario going through those 3 games yesterday and just curled up a storm. They curled beautifully. They beat Manitoba, good close game, went on to beat BC, and of course Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan, Don, really played well all week. I was very impressed with those young girls.
And they ran into a difficult situation in that semifinal last night. That shot, as you pointed out at the start of our telecast, how she drove the Ontario stone right back onto her own. And that enabled Ontario to pick up 2 in the game against Schneider of Saskatchewan on the 9th end to make it a 7-4 game.
Well, there was a couple of ends there where Michelle Schneider had a chance to tie the game or maybe go up by 1, you know, and she just wasn't quite as sharp as she'd been throughout the week. Not to discredit Ontario at all, because they really played a sound game. They really never give Saskatchewan anything to get started. You know, I talked to Lorraine Lang before the game and after the game last night, and I said, boy, that was a tough day for you, you know. She's, well, Donnie, we're used to it, you know. In the Ontario playdowns, like, we had some very, very close games. Beat Maryland Dart in the round robin. So that tells you how strong this Ontario team is.
Well, that red stone comes to rest just shy of the rings. Pat Sanders is going to move out and take a look to see how it can be removed. She's concerned, of course, that she may knock it back onto her own. Wants to make sure that she can push it by cleanly.
Well, if she hits it a little bit on the inside, you know, there is a chance if she hits maybe about 3/4 of the rock, she may just touch that yellow one on the right-hand side there and just push it into the rings behind cover. But if she sits right there, it'll be a good shot for her, because she has the front all set up. If Ontario ever makes a move and it doesn't work out for him or misses a half a shot, there's a chance Pat Sanders can go in around the corner and get something started.
Ball, right off. Good.
Well, she does drive it through cleanly. They were concerned that she might drive it onto the yellow Team Canada stone, and as a result, that rock might just spin into the rings rather than go right through.
Well, if she had hit it thin enough, there was a chance that she could do that. Of course, now there are 5 rocks out in front, all belonging to Team Canada. Now, Heather Houston of Ontario is going to ask Lorraine Lang to go in around behind and maybe get it on the corner of the 4-foot, preferably in front of that tee line.
The one thing that Houston suffers from is a lack of skipping experience. She hasn't had that many opportunities to call shots at the tee head. This really is her first year as a skip.
Well, I think if you've got Tracy Kennedy, whose husband's been to 3 Canadian championships, and Lorraine Lang, whose husband is a 2-time world champion, I think she knows and understands the game. She certainly can make all the shots. And from what I've seen of her all week, she's called a very, very strong game.
Heather Houston, the 29-year-old skip, who is a graphic artist with the Lakehead Board of Education in Thunder Bay.
You see Pat Sanders taking a look at this, and she wants to make sure that she hits it on the inside. You know, the way she's looking at it, she may want to play the out turn and go in around those corner guards, but she's playing very defensively here.
No. How?
If she hits that one right on the nose, or maybe just a little bit off center, there's going to be 4 rocks completely out in front. See, she's decided she's now going to go in and around the corner guard, and that's a good call. I kind of like that call. Take away the play from the center. You have last rock. You're going in around the corner guards, and if they make a good shot, well, you still got the same route to follow. So this is a good call by Pat Sanders. Of course, you have to make the shot.
Well, Louise Herlinvaux will be attempting to execute the shot.
Okay, here it comes.
Herlinvaux is a long way out there. She's going to be well by the guards. Now it should start to move a bit. But she is definitely not going to be buried, Don. She's going to stay right there. You might as well stop it short, because if you leave it there, it allows Ontario now the possibility of hitting and rolling in behind cover. So that was just a little bit of bad ice calling by Pat Sanders.
Well, this is only the third end of this Canadian Women's Championship, and the second end and this one have both been extremely interesting. All the rocks in play in the second end sitting in the rings. Here on this third end, they're all outside the rings, with the exception of that one stone.
Oh, the rocks are here. I'd like to go around, but I want to wait till a little bit later in the game.
Well, Pat Sanders agrees. She says all these rocks in play.
Yeah, too close to center. She's not throwing any weight. What's the draw weight?
It's right up. It's like how weak.
Oh, is it? Good. It looks stickier.
For Houston, looking for a little bit of an outside roll. They don't want to hit and stay there. They'd like to get a little bit of an inside roll or an outside roll. They're working hard on it. Oh, she gets by nicely. She's going to get a nice little roll to the inside. Oh, good shot.
Well, Heather Houston has made some fine shots throughout the week. She had a busy day yesterday, and she executes a fine hit and roll here on the third end. Ontario lies 1. Ontario leads 2-1.
Oh, dear. Yeah, did you see that really good? You can go in this way, girl?
Well, for Pat Sanders,
Once it comes off the line, it'll really curl.
you hear them talk about coming off the line, Don, and I talked about that the first couple of ends, is that once it hits that center line and you get inside the center line playing this out turn, it'll curl. Heather Houston's rock, she played a takeout, and it curled. But look where Pat Sanders now. She's on the other side of the center line. It'll take a long time for her to come over. Then once it hits the line, it'll start to move. Now it's starting to move for her. She's got lots of weight.
Come on, hurry! Come on, right back!
And they take that stone to the back of the 4-foot as Team Canada lies 1. But that rock is open. With the outturn, Heather Houston should be able to come down to that stone. You see the port that she will be coming through. There's actually 2 of them, one up closer to the hog line and another just at the top of the house.
Yeah, they're really curving. Shows that with her turn. Not bad, not bad. Same shot. I don't think I could have taken any more ice. Yeah, it came off really well. If it doesn't come off, I mean any less ice. Oh, yeah. You know, if you put it on center line, it just takes off.
You hear Pat Sanders said, say we should have taken more ice.
It should have hit the stuff. Yeah. Cut her weight back and hit the stick.
The fact, Don, that she threw it a little bit strongly, they never swept that all the way down the ice, and the rock is in the back of the 4-foot, so it was a little bit heavy, so it didn't curl as much. But still, Pat Sanders thinks she needs a little bit more ice. For Houston, she has to be very careful of her weight here. They haven't laid a brush to it. Look at it, it's on the line. Now it'll start to move right in here. Now it's starting to curl. She got a piece of it. Yeah, a good piece of it is going to hang on the back of the 12-foot. They're working hard on it, and it just spun out of the rings.
So Ontario lies 1 with that takeout by skip Heather Houston. And Pat Sanders with the last rock on this third end, trailing by a 2-1 score.
Well, there's a little bit of difference when you're drawing against 2, especially when you're 1 down for as Pat Sanders is here. You know, if that rock had stayed in and she misses this draw, then all of a sudden she's down 4-1. If she misses this draw, she's only going to be down 3-1. You know, the big difference that 1 point makes. So, you know, if Heather Houston had hung around on that takeout, a little bit more pressure, but I'm sure Pat Sanders knows the weight in this area. Although they haven't laid a brush to it.
She may be just a little on the warm side.
It's got to start digging in. She has to stop full in the 12-foot. No, she's going to go right through the house.
So it's a steal of one on the third end for Ontario, as Pat Sanders slips through the rings with her final stone of this third end. So after 3 ends of play here at the Scott Tournament of Hearts at the Aitken Center in Fredericton, New Brunswick, it's Ontario 3 and Team Canada 1.
If we kept things any juicier, you'd need a spoon. If you've ever wondered what Purex softness is made of, it's very plain to see. Oodles of pillows galore with softness you're bound to adore. They nestle and jiggle in rows as off to the puffer day goes. Softness and puff and all that nice stuff, that's what Purex softness is made of. We put hundreds of soft little pillows in every sheet. It's softness you can see.
The good thing about H&R Block's cashback service is that it doesn't take weeks to get your income tax refund.
With cashback, you can get your refund fast, and there's no extra charge for preparing your return.
Thanks. H&R Block gave me a check for 85% of the first $300 of my refund and 95% of the rest.
So if there's something you really had your mind set on, use cashback and get it right away. Just look for the sign.
CBC's sweep of championship curling coverage continues. Next Saturday and Sunday, the Labatt Brier from Chicoutimi, Quebec. 1987 Canadian champion Russ Howard's rink did not qualify, but 3 other former world champions are there. New Brunswick's Jim Sullivan was 87's premier junior curler. From British Columbia, April 2nd, the Pepsi-Cola Canadian Juniors. Julie Sutton of the host province was last season's female winner. CBC Sports is in Glasgow, Scotland, April 8th for the Women's Worlds. Pat Sanders and her BC teammates won the event last year in Chicago. The title in '88 would make Sanders the only double winner in the tournament's history. Finally, from Lausanne, Switzerland, April 16th and 17th, the Men's Worlds. West Germany's Roger Schmidt was the runner-up to Canada at the '87 Worlds at Vancouver, British Columbia. Catch complete curling coverage on CBC.
Well, the defending champions are in some trouble as we play the 4th end. Team Canada trailing Ontario by a score of 3-1. Team Canada with the shot rock sitting in the 8-foot circle. And that's the one that Heather Houston is asking her second, Diane Adams, to remove.
And Team Canada doing a little bit of struggling here, Don. You won't see Pat Sanders miss 2 draws like that. The first one, she was in the back of the 4-foot, but still a little bit strong and stayed wide open. The last one, she wasn't even close. And very seldom you see Pat Sanders do that, especially when she just threw the rock before. She knew the path and knew the weight. And that hit and roll out by Heather Houston on her last one was a big roll up, because if that sticks at the back of the 12-foot, she's up 4-1 instead of 3-1. So Team Canada doing a little bit of struggling here. They got to kind of regroup and settle down and say, and you don't get back in this game.
Well, this Canadian team certainly had a great record during a week of round-robin play. On only 4 occasions did they have points stolen from them. And they've already had 1 end stolen from them here in this championship game.
That's an unbelievable statistic, though. 110 ends and only 4 ends stolen. That's unbelievable curling. Going to the out turn. Now it's running straight.
She's going to get a piece of the stone, just enough to push it out, and the shooter delivered by Georgina Hawks rolls over to the other side of the house. Sitting in the 8-foot, Team Canada lies 1.
Now, Don, Team Canada is playing very quiet weight. The ice is running very straight, and it's very fast. So Pat Sanders knows that she can control the rock with her sweepers, and she wants to save her rocks, and that's why she's playing just quiet weight. On the other hand, Houston from Ontario, she's got a couple points up. She may feel that's enough on this ice to exchange rocks throughout the whole rest of the game and be up by 2 coming home. She may feel that she's ahead enough now that she can run everything and get away with winning maybe 7-5, 2 ahead. So she's going to play maybe just a fraction more weight. But for Sanders, she has to keep her rocks in play. She has to get back in this game. Boy, they're working hard on this one. They may have played a little bit too quiet here. This rock is going to curl by. Just touches the Team Canada rock.
They have really been throwing very, very quiet takeout weight.
Very tentative. You know, and you're up 2 on this ice, being very straight, very fast. You know, I think you maybe just pick your weight up a fraction. But, of course, for Ontario, that may be their secret of their success all week, playing nice quiet weight, so that's what they want to continue with.
Well, we talked about the fact that Team Canada had only yielded 4 stolen ends. Ontario had quite a record for stealing points, and they have already stolen a point here.
Well, that's the way they play. They're a very aggressive team.
And for those perhaps not familiar with curling terminology, you steal a point when you don't have last rock on an end. And right now, Pat Sanders and her defending Canadian champions are attempting to get back in the game. They're looking for at least a deuce here on the 4th end, and they have those 2 counters in the stones right now with that delivery.
To me, it looks like maybe either the front end is throwing the rock wide of the broom that Sanders has given them, or maybe that Pat Sanders is giving too much ice, because that rock, they wanted to curl in around the center guard, and like it missed the front rock by a good 2.5 feet. Now, I know it runs straight, but it should curl a bit with quiet weight to get in around, maybe just partially hide that one on the center guard. But look where it is. It's wide open. There's a chance now for Ontario to maybe hit the inside of that rock and make a double and roll in behind cover.
Lorraine Lang, the Ontario 3rd, delivering this rock.
Oh, and Heather Houston yelled right away, whoa. She's got a little bit more weight and a lot of turn on her rock. A lot of spin on it, so it's going to run a little bit straighter. She hits it on the outside and rolls away.
Yes, that stone really made a number of revolutions coming down the ice, didn't it? She really put some spin on it.
Well, she does, you know. She puts a lot of turn on, and that's because she maybe has the handle slightly turned. You know, a normal curling rock on fairly straight ice and fairly normal ice should turn maybe 2.5, 3 times down the ice, maximum. I think Lorraine Lang maybe had about 6 or 7 revolutions on that one. And the more spin you put on it, the straighter the rock stays.
So Team Canada will attempt to keep up the attack as Louise Herlinvaux will try and put a 2nd stone in the rings. Team Canada trails Ontario 3-1 playing this 4th end.
Now, Pat Sanders give her ice inside the 4-foot. Inside the 4-foot circle. Now we'll see where this rock stops. It's a little bit quieter than her first one. And it is going to be pulled up a little bit short, but there it is. Still passes the guard by a good foot. And unfortunately, quite a bit short.
How a complexion of an end can change.
Well, one rock can turn around an end. Now for Lorraine Lang, if she hits and rolls in behind cover, her rock will be pretty well protected. Granted, it'll be in the back of the 8-foot where maybe Team Canada can come up to it, but good shot here could get Ontario maybe a chance to steal another point.
Well, a situation where Team Canada appeared to be applying pressure could suddenly change, where Ontario could be in control of the end.
Lorraine Lang throwing nice takeout weight. Now they're starting to work on it. You can see they're really working hard on it. She got a piece of it. A little bit of a piece. Is it going to hang around? No, she just rolled out of the rings. Very close to a perfect shot.
So 2 stones in play out in front of the rings now. 1 just back of the rings still in play. It appears as though Sanders wants to raise that yellow stone back into the house.
Well, the reason she's playing the raise, Don, is that I think she feels that you cannot bury around that rock if you take wider ice to get around it. So she's going to play the straight back raise. If she does, it's going to be a great shot because she'll be behind 2 guards. And she's given her exactly the same ice for the raise as she did for the draw. She's got nice looking weight. She's got to make sure that she hits it straight back. She doesn't want to drive it in the open.
She's going to push it back into the open.
Well, something's wrong. Either the girls are either flicking them outside the broom or roll them inside, because they're not putting the rocks in the right spot. They're either throwing it wide of the broom and they're staying in the open. That one actually curled across the face of it and raised the rock wide open.
Not nearly as precise in their shot making as we have seen them in the past.
No, they're struggling a bit.
Not sure what the weight is down there. I thought it was pretty close on my out turning into it. No, that's okay. You can just afford to throw more, because if you don't, if you only hit a little bit of it, you still get to hit it up. You just look like you're coming up really strong. This one seems to, yeah, it doesn't take a move. Halfway down or so. I'm going to make sure I have firm regular, because the nose isn't a bad shot.
And for Heather Houston, same shot as Lorraine Lang threw with her last one, so she should know how it runs there. You'll see she's got a little bit lazier turn on here. So here comes the first turn of the rock, right about 3/4 of the way down the ice. Now it's coming up to the second. She's got a good shot. She's going to hit it on the nose. A little bit of a roll and rolls away. Same shot as Lorraine Lang. A little bit thicker, she would have stayed, but unfortunately, it must be moving a bit just as it comes into the house.
Move, eh?
So nothing in the rings. Still those two stones sitting out front.
Yeah, after we saw mine. I didn't think that. That's a wild jump, too. I thought it was half a rock. Bang.
Well, apparently there's a bit of a move right in that particular area.
Well, it must stay straight all the way down the ice, and even coming over the hog line closest to the house here. But once it gets maybe about halfway between the house and the hog line, it must make a little bit of a move. There must be a little bit of a hill there that it comes off. As you see now, Pat Sanders, she wants to play the raise, and that rock is running fairly straight for her. Now it's starting to move. Look at this, eh? Can't put the rock in the right spot.
Well, there's obviously something in the ice that is causing some problems, because both sides are experiencing difficulties in that particular area.
Well, you know, that's 5 rocks they've thrown down in that area, and they haven't made a shot there that they called yet.
Of course, once those doubts get into your mind, then the problem seems to magnify.
You're in the glue, because you're trying harder and you're kind of guessing. Like, you're in the weight is the big thing too. I mean, if you're all throwing different weight, the rock's going to react different.
Same weight. Okay. Just have to be conscious of not hitting the back one.
And what Heather is referring to about being aware of that backstone is the one just outside the rings. They don't want to drive that shot stone onto the rock just outside of the rings. If they do, they would leave the stone that they're attempting to get rid of hanging on for a biter at the back.
Well, that's what they have to be careful of. Also, they have to be careful they don't miss it altogether. Heather Houston wants to hit a half a rock down. If she hits half a rock, she'll roll in maybe behind cover. It's a long way to come. Now it's starting to move. They should have maybe been on that a little bit quicker. They would have been rolling right in behind cover, but stayed in the open. And that tells you that there may be a few funny little runs in the ice.
Well, Heather Houston and her Ontario champions now would be quite happy to force Pat Sanders to take one.
I just got to make sure I get a piece of it.
Sanders would dearly love to blank this end to retain last rock advantage through end number 5.
Well, look at the ice.
And try and get her pair then.
Well, just look at the ice Hawks is giving Pat Sanders. Pat Sanders, of course, puts the broom down because she knows what weight she's going to throw. And Hawks puts the broom. It's right in the middle of the rock. And that tells you the ice is running very, very straight. Because she's trying to hit half a rock and roll out.
And I want to make sure I hit it so straight.
Now, Pat Sanders simply confirms what you were saying, that it is very, very straight there.
Now it's starting to move in that spot. Is she going to get half a rock? Yeah, good shot. That may look fairly simple to the average viewer, but that is a tough shot to make. Hit and roll out.
So Pat Sanders successfully removes that Ontario stone, and after 4 ends of play, the score remains the same, 3-1, Ontario leading Team Canada.
Amsterdam is a Canadian city.
Hong Kong is a Canadian city.
Roma is Canadian city.
Rio is a Canadian city.
Sydney, it's a Canadian city, mate.
You can enjoy our Canadian hospitality across 5 continents.
She's Scotty's little softie, and she can stop a sneeze. Scotties are her best friend, my dog. Aww, she can wipe away each tear for everyone that's dear. Scotties are soft for all my friends. She can wipe away your makeup just as quickly as you please. Scotties are so gentle on my skin, darling. Scotties soften the blow.
When you have headache pain, there's one thing you want most, effective relief, and you want relief fast. The kind you get with aspirin. Medical evidence proves it. Aspirin gives you effective relief. And for many people, aspirin brings relief in minutes.
I feel great now, and aspirin did it.
When you have headache pain, today's aspirin gives you what you want most, effective relief, and you get relief fast.
Hello, everyone. We are back live here at the Aitken Center in Fredericton, New Brunswick. You know, it takes so many people to stage an event like this, but here at the Scott Tournament of Hearts, there is one person who certainly stands out. She is Robin Wilson. And if you had to think of a job description for Robin, you'd have a tough time. She's the liaison between the sponsor, the media, the organizing committee, and most importantly, the curlers. She is the heart and soul of the Scott Tournament of Hearts. Let's take you back to 1979. Lindsay Sparks throws the final rock to clinch her second Canadian championship. Robin Wilson was second stone on the team. She would retire at the end of the season. However, her role in developing women's curling was just beginning. And it would be so strong a role that she would never miss her competitive days.
I think the biggest challenge when it really came home was in 1984 when Lindsay, who I curled with, was standing up there when they won it again. And I really didn't know how I'd feel, you know, when we sang, "Oh, Canada," and everything, and I sat there and watched Lindsay, knowing I'd curled with her and I knew her so well. And all I felt was just this incredible pride for her and her accomplishments. And I realized, no, that I don't need that anymore. That's all been looked after. That, you know, when you don't feel any envy or any feelings like that, it's just pride.
It was that pride that pushed her to begin to make changes in women's curling.
We got to talking about what kind of recognition awards would be given. And Robin said very plainly right at the beginning, "I don't think the curlers will require any additional silver trays."
And so Robin came up with a better idea.
Again, there's a little bit of influence of my involvement in sport through my husband as well with the Grey Cup ring, for instance, and how much that means to a man. It's something that you're given, and you wear yours, I know, with pride. I don't happen to have one. But you're given, and it's just, I mean, it's recognizable to curlers. I mean, if I were to see a girl sitting in a restaurant with the 4-heart ring on, I would know that she was a Canadian champion. It's a keepsake again. It's something that's special. I have 2 Lassie trophies, and they sit in the trophy room, my husband's trophy room over in the corner, sort of little teeny things all in the corner next to this big wall of trophies. It's just something you have with you all the time. You don't put it in a drawer and let it collect dust. It's there. It's usable. It's wearable.
For the curlers, Robin is a godsend, everyone's best friend, because after all, as a former competitor, she knows exactly what they're going through.
Robin's been great. She's been really supportive for us. She's organized a lot of trips and things for us, and you know, she always says to Pat, if you need somebody to talk to, give me a call, and she's talked to her a couple times, and just the difference in Pat's attitude after she talks to her is just phenomenal.
She's had a lot of class, a lot of professionalism. She's really brightened it up, and I find a lot of people are watching more women's curling because of her, I think.
If you're still not convinced, Robin's involvement is probably best summed up by Bob Stewart.
I'd have to say she's everything.
She wears so many hats throughout the week, and she juggles everything so well. Whether she's presenting awards to volunteers or down on the media bench preparing news releases and getting results out across the country. For Robin, it's not a matter of who wins or loses this Canadian Championship. It's much more than that. She wants to make certain every single curler goes home with a special memory.
We have a victory banquet, as you know, at the end of every championship. And our goal for the championship is to have not a dry eye in the house at the end of that banquet. And I'd say I know when we've really done a good job and really put it all together is when the video show at the end, the lights come up, and everybody's sitting there sniffling.
All those nice things everybody's saying about you, Robin, and the kids at home still don't listen to you.
That's right.
Robin, you've done a terrific job, as usual, with this Scott Tournament of Hearts, and this is an ideal final, I guess we could say, with the defending champions, Team Canada, going against a very strong rink from Ontario.
Well, actually, you know, just from a very objective viewpoint, as a tournament organizer, we really, you know, this is just tremendous for us. We have biggest province in the country and our defending champions. It makes our whole 12th team concept look good, too, because these gals, you got best curlers out there right now.
Ever since going into that 12th team concept, it's interesting that the defending champions haven't been able to repeat.
Well, we came close. Linda Moore's team came close, and they just didn't have it against Marilyn Dark. She was pretty hot. These girls are probably as well equipped as any team to repeat as a Canadian champion. But it's been since Vera Pezzer way back in the 70s that happened.
Since you introduced that 12th team, you've now had 3 years to work at it. What is the response of the lady curlers?
Oh, I think it's good. There was a lot of controversy at the beginning, Don, but you know yourself how hard it is to get back there. The men know that. The men appreciate it, and it's worked. You can see it here now. When a team is prepared, when they come in and they're playing in the final game, I think it's good for curling, good for ladies curling.
I think Don Duguid could speak on behalf of all male curlers. I think the Canadian champion, Russ Howard in particular, would like to see the defending champion back at the Briar.
Well, especially now, you know, with ladies curling and men's curling, there's so many demands made on the team throughout the course of the following year after winning a Canadian or World Championship that, you know, to get back and then start all over again to play through your club playdowns, your provincial playdowns, you know, it is a tough strain, not only on your family life, but on curling as well, you know. So I think it's a tremendous idea, and I think Robin's to be commended on such a great move.
Well, I think the strain was certainly evident last year on Russ Howard after winning the Canadian Championship and the world title. He went immediately into the Olympic trials, and I think it was evident there.
You know, I think without a doubt, you know, and I think Linda Moore was smart this year when she decided not to do that. The fellows went ahead and went through the playdowns again, but Linda chose not to, and I think that's a big difference for the girls.
Although, you know, I was in Calgary a couple of weeks ago, and I talked to Ed Lukowicz and wished him well on behalf of all our crews down, and he said, like, he was tired even now, and he went in the playdowns. He lost out, of course, Ryan representing Alberta, but he said he was physically and mentally tired just before the Olympics, so he had a tough road to hoe.
A lot of preparation for the two Canadian teams that participated in the demonstration sport of curling in Calgary. And unfortunately, Ed Lukowicz wasn't as successful as Linda Moore. And at the moment, Ontario has that shot rock behind cover at the back of the 4-foot. This Heather Houston foursome from Thunder Bay curling very, very well. They looked very strong yesterday in the 3 games that they had to play.
We were talking about it on the bench. Heather is absolutely awesome. She has an incredible finesse, and as you said, she was hot yesterday, and she's hot again today.
Well, don't try so hard to get them going. I'm tightened your right up so much. Hot!
I think if a rink such as Team Canada was guaranteed that they would win a semifinal game and advance to the final, they would just as soon
just tap it back.
Not have a day off. They'd like to be curling right through. I think yesterday they would have liked to have curled 1 game at least to come into this game. Sometimes I think when you have that day off, I don't know, you might lose just a little something.
Well, I know you worry about it because I've been in the position where we had to sit out a day as well. But the girls were out throwing rocks, and Pat Sanders is a cool customer. She can overcome it.
Right now, Louise Herlenvaux is trying to go after that shot stone. It has some curling to do to make contact with that red rock.
Well, she's going to miss it.
So Ontario lies 1. And now the strategy, Don, for Heather Houston.
Well, she would like to put a guard on here, Don. She's up 3-1. 2-point lead is, especially on this type of ice, is a pretty commanding lead. And if she steals a point here, then she goes up 3 points. Team Canada's going to have a tough road to hoe, because I tell you, Heather Houston is not giving Pat Sanders anything to get started with. You know, they've been struggling all along, Team Canada.
Robin, many compliments for your work, and deservedly so, but I know you wouldn't be able to do the job without the fine work of the committee here in Fredericton, and they have really excelled.
Yeah, it's been an excellent committee. They're a very cohesive group, and we laugh. We don't talk about problems, we talk about challenges, and we've had all sorts of challenges. We haven't had any problems at all this week.
Heather Houston, the Ontario skip, trying to cover that stone sitting at the back of the 4.
And then they see the die. Perfect weight.
Well, that came in deeper than they wanted. It is at the top of the 4-foot. Ontario lies 2.
Well, that's
those 2 rocks partially protected by that red stone out in front of the rings.
Wow, that's just a great shot by Heather Houston, because not only has she put the rock in front of the tee line, she's covered the one in the back of the 4-foot, and the way the ice runs there, it is very difficult for Pat Sanders to make a hit.
I think your guard weight.
Don't you think it is a little bit?
Maybe a little bit.
I hate to say that, because you know how you're saying I'm kicking out like.
That's what they say. They say that you're kicking out hard, so they tell you it's 22. They tell me it's 21 and a half. I'm used to straw. You could try the straight back double. The only thing is, right now, you can see the 4-foot. If she puts a guard on the other side, you're not going to be able to see the 4-foot. Okay, what ice do I need? There? Probably a little more than that, I think. I don't know that it'll come in.
You hear Pat Sanders' big concerns. I don't think it'll come in. She's just playing a draw to the one in the back of the 4-foot. She's trying to corner freeze it down. Now look how much room she's got. She's only got about 16 inches between the 2 rocks, so she's going to have to be letter perfect.
This is really dangerous. I don't know whether we shouldn't be taking the guard off. So they're sitting 2 almost on the button. Same weight? What was that?
I think Pat has assessed this situation correctly. It is very dangerous.
If anybody can make it, I tell you it's Pat.
Well, the difficulty here for Pat Sanders, that if she ever goes by both of them and they put the guard out in front, she has no shot. So this one's got to be in place somewhere, even in front.
And it has some curling to do.
Well, it's well out there. It depends on her weight. It should move a little bit for her, but it's hanging right out. Look at it stay on that outside of the center line. Now they got to worry about getting it in for a shot.
It's going to come up short of the 4-foot.
Okay.
So now there is a chance for Heather Houston to really put a capper on this.
Well, if you're Robin Wilson, you might come right down here, hit this one, be a little bit of a gambler, and try to roll to there. Or if you're Donnie Duguid, you may just put the rock right here and say, okay, I've got 2 points. Okay, Robin, your choice.
As older I get, I go with the Donnie Duguid shot.
Not only that, it's my telestrator.
Well, if Heather Houston is successful in covering those stones in the house, she could really create problems, and we reflect back to the comment that Pat Sanders made. She said if we don't make this shot, we could be in big trouble.
Well, for Heather Houston, she has to make sure that she at least covers 3/4 of that Team Canada rock and maybe kind of just get a piece of the center line. Because if she exposes any outside piece of it, there's still a chance for Sanders maybe to angle raise it.
She's got a lot of weight on this one as well.
Oh, now it's got to come a little bit. Pure shot, Alphonse. I mean, you couldn't have picked that rock up, carried it down, and put it in a better spot.
Just where you said there was going to be, too, Donnie.
When he's got that telestrator in his hand, he very rarely makes a mistake. Now, Pat Sanders really has a problem. Well, Robin, as always, we've enjoyed having you drop by our broadcast position, and I know you've got a lot of things still to do before this 1988 Scott Tournament of Hearts comes to a conclusion. So we'll let you sneak away and go about your duties.
Thank you. It's been fun joining you.
Get it in there.
Robin Wilson,
The only shot.
who is the tournament coordinator for the Scott Tournament of Hearts here in Fredericton, doing an outstanding job, as always.
I don't know whether we can get by ours. I don't know whether we can get by ours. Okay. That's our only hope. A little more.
Well, for Pat Sanders, she's really got a problem, Donna, and she's going to try and play off this one here, but you heard her remark earlier to Gina Hawks, if I hit it half a rock, am I going to get enough? Am I going to get by this one? She's got to be concerned that she doesn't hit it too thick. If she hits it thin, she might get the right angle and come in that way. But anytime you're down 3-1 and you're trying to hit one on the edge of the 12-foot, roll completely across the rings and try to hit one in the back of the 4-foot and stay just for 1 point, you're in a lot of trouble. This reminds me of an Al Hackner shot against Pat Ryan. I think Pat Sanders stands about the same chance, only Al Hackner made it.
Well, let's follow the progress of this one. She has to catch a corner of this one and angle into the 4. She gets one of them.
Hey, she didn't do bad. She did pretty good. That was a great, great effort by Pat Sanders. She hit it just a fraction too thick, but she removed one of the Ontario team, so now she's only down by 3.
Let's take another look at it. She had to catch it just a little thinner.
Well, she was worried about hitting it too thick, and you see she does hit about a half a rock. She comes across, hits it, but it makes contact with the other Ontario rock, pushing it to the back of the 8-foot, and only gives up a steal of 1.
But with that steal on the 5th end, Ontario takes control of this championship final. It's Ontario 4 and Team Canada 1 at the midpoint of this championship game.
Joining me now is Heather Houston, skip of the Ontario team. You must be breathing a little bit easier now, Heather.
Not a lot, not yet.
Now, I don't know if you know this, but during the round robin, you were ahead 6 times at the half, and you won 5 of them. Does that make you breathe a little easier?
No. Nothing's going to make me breathe easier for about another hour and a half.
You seem to be on quite a roll. The roll that you had all yesterday, the roll you had all week long, the touch is still there.
It makes a difference calling your game when you know that your teammates will make every shot you call.
Have you intentionally gone out to be aggressive?
No. No, I was hoping we'd play wide open for 5 and be close and finish up real aggressive.
And here you are with a 3-point lead. Is a 3-point lead enough against a team like Pat Sanders?
No.
Are you going to continue to be aggressive?
Take what chances we're given, sure.
Okay, good luck, Heather, the rest of the way. We're going to throw it back up to Don and Don for the highlight of the first half of the game.
Well, there were a couple of very interesting ends. That second end, when we had so many rocks in play, and Ontario was able to pick up 2. And, of course, the shots on that 5th end by Heather Houston that enabled Ontario to steal a single point and move in front 4-1. Don Duguid, what have you selected as the highlight of the match so far?
Well, I think that second end was a very, very important shot. And, you know, if Pat Sanders goes by this guard, there's a good chance that Ontario would have had a free draw for 5. She's trying to actually make a double here, and you'll see that they don't sweep it all the way down the ice. She just touches the red one. Look at that. And she just rolled and gets a break and rolls in for second shot. Ontario ended up getting 2, but that's a very big part of this game.
Well, with all those rocks in play on that second end, the possibility of anything happening the way that stone came down. But this Ontario rink curled very well yesterday, as we saw, and they are continuing that aggressive play today. Are you surprised at all?
No, I'm not. After watching her play 3 games yesterday, she's a very aggressive player. And like she said, when she was talking to Colleen, she's aggressive. And when her team and her front end are making the shots, she'll play any type of game you want because she has a lot of confidence.
Well, Pat Sanders has her work cut out over the final 5 ends. She's standing by now with Colleen.
Thanks a lot, Don. Pat, that was very close to a terrific shot. You know, it was so close, but yet you're still down by 3.
Well, we seem to be close on a lot of shots. We're having problems with the ice. It's pretty tricky today, and I'm having a little bit of problem with my draw weight as well. But I think we've got our act together. We'll give it a good shot to come back.
We were noticing that perhaps the ice is changing. That is true, isn't it?
I don't think it's changing. It's just really straight ice for us, and we're floating our rocks a little and staying in the open. You can't do that.
The first 5 ends has been very aggressive, but are we even going to see you junk it up a lot more now in the second half?
Oh, I would imagine so. We'll try our corner guards and see if we can get some rocks around corner guards.
Okay, Pat, thank you very much. Good luck the rest of the way. We will be back with the Scott Tournament of Hearts. Right now, let's go to Sports Weekend Control and Ken Daniels.
And thank you, Colleen. Updating sports for you this afternoon. The CFL is holding its annual draft of Canadian college talent, and to no one's surprise this afternoon, the Ottawa Rough Riders, with first pick by virtue of their last place finish last season, took Simon Fraser running back Orville Lee. 64 players in all will be chosen through 8 rounds. Updating the NHL for you this afternoon, New Jersey and Boston, they are tied at 4 in the 3rd period of play. Elsewhere this afternoon, the New York Islanders hold a 2-0 lead over Pittsburgh. We return you now to Fredericton and the exciting Scott Tournament of Hearts.
Thank you, Ken, and it's 4-1 Ontario leading Team Canada as we get set for the 6th end. And that 2nd end, those 2 points that Ontario was able to score, could prove to be very decisive as this match progresses. And then, of course, the steal on end number 3 and another steal on end number 5.
You know, that's what I like about Pat Sanders. She's talking to Colleen. She knows she's not out of the game. She's going to junk it up. She's going to go around a few more corner guards. And she's, you know, she's still very loose, you know, so you can't count her out. And for Houston, you know, you may get lulled into a false sense of security here. You're up by 3. You're playing the defending Canadian world champions. What you don't want to do is play conservative. Her game has always been be aggressive, be aggressive, be aggressive, and that's the way she should attack this game.
Well, that stone comes to rest just outside the 12-foot. And Deb Masillo will attempt to remove that rock.
No, I think they're going to throw up a corner guard. You heard Pat Sanders saying they're going to start going around, and she might as well gamble. You know, she's down 3 points. Like she said, the ice is very straight. It's tough ice to come back on when it's so straight. There's very little curl to it. So Pat Sanders is going to gamble. She's going to start throwing up guards and going around him. She's going to say,
absolutely right.
She's going to force Houston to play defensively. And that's what she wants to do.
So Masillo delivers the corner guard, and now Houston will ask for its removal from Tracy Kennedy. Said that Tracy had a daughter, Lisa, at home, and she's expecting a 2nd child in October, she was telling me earlier today.
There you are. 3 rocks thrown, 2 in play, and that's exactly what Pat Sanders and Team Canada want. You see she's going to jump right at it. She's going right in behind the corner guard.
She's going to go in there with the out turn. Deb Masillo will throw just a touch more weight than with the previous stone.
Well, the key when the ice is straight on, and it's very key, and in fact falling maybe a little bit, you have to be so exacting on the broom. You cannot afford to float the rock outside the broom, or it'll run very straight. It'll actually make you look silly. And they got to work on this one. Deb Masillo, this is a big rock, because if she gets it in behind the guard and in the rings, they've got something started. Look at this. Not bad, but, you know, once again, not quite what they called for.
So Deb Masillo has a stone sitting out front that Heather Houston is asking her 2nd, Diane Adams, to remove. We said earlier that her husband, Jim, and Rick Lang, the husband of third Lorraine Lang, who are curling with Al Hackner, representing Northern Ontario in the Brier getting underway tomorrow, would probably be watching in Chicoutimi. Well, in fact, both Jim and Rick arrived here in Fredericton just as this game was getting underway, and they're sitting upstairs in the lounge watching the action.
Now it's their turn to pace. Because I know that Lorraine Lang has paced many a corridor when Rick was playing. And the same, I'm sure, for Diane Adams and Tracy Kennedy. You know, it's really interesting. I know when I was curling, my wife, she couldn't watch. She was paced up and down the corridors all the time. Then she'd hear a roar of the crowd and she'd run to an opening and see what was happening.
And as usual, you had made a big shot.
No, I was watching somebody else in the other sheet. But it is nerve-wracking. And once again, Sanders trying to go in around that corner guard. Georgina Hawks has got a lot of weight. She's well by the corner guard.
Well, this is an area of the ice on the fourth end that they had some difficulty with. And this one slides right through. So when given the opportunity to perhaps make that shot that might get them back in the game, Team Canada has had some problems.
Well, they really have. Deb Masula pulled up short. Georgina Hawks went through the house. And remember what I said before this end started, that Houston, you know, maybe should continue her aggressive style, go after Team Canada. What she doesn't want to do is maybe play defensive. That's exactly what she's doing here. She knows that Team Canada is trying to go in around those corner guards, so she's going to run them off. You know, I think even if she runs these off, I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see Team Canada go around the center guard. If I was Houston, I might have raised that one or just kind of rolled that one right in on the center line.
Well, Diane Adams attempting to remove a couple of those stones, and she succeeds. But there are still two rocks sitting out in front of the rings, both belonging to Ontario. Ontario in control by a 4-1 margin.
Well, see, nothing's changed. Now she's given Sanders a third chance to get in there.
Georgina Hawks will try and take a little off this delivery with the out-turn draw.
And they're working hard on this one. She was a little bit heavy with her first draw. She should have this weight. It's a question of whether she's going to get by the guard. They have worked really hard on this rock. Is she by? No. That's 3 tries they've had. Baseball, you only get 3 strikes. Curling, you get 8.
Well, things have been misfiring a little for Team Canada on this 6th end.
Well, they really have. And now Houston's got to decide, well, maybe they're not making their shots. Maybe I should get a little bit more aggressive here. Switch from defense to offense. And here she's going to play the in-turn draw and maybe tap her own up into the rings, maybe split and roll both of them in. It's now down to Lorraine Lang's first rock. Good time to gamble.
Lorraine Lang, an X-ray technician at McKellar Hospital in Thunder Bay.
Whoa, way out there. Whoa, right off.
You hear him saying, whoa, right off. She's got a lot of weight. Boy, that rock is still staying there. Look at it. It's floating out as a matter of fact. Now it's starting to work a bit. Is she going to get by that yellow one? Oh, when you're hot, you're hot.
Well, now with that split, Ontario lies 2, getting a rub off that guard. And Lorraine Lang puts both the stone that was sitting out front and her shooter into the rings.
Well, when things are going well for you, they're going well. It looked like Lorraine Lang was a little bit strong. She hits that Team Canada rock, ricochets off, it rolls her own one in, but look where her shooter goes down, right in around the corner guard. A little bit of a break there for Ontario, but you have to get the breaks. You have to curl well and create your own breaks, but when you're curling well, you'll get those breaks.
48% is the average for Louise Herlinvaux so far in this match. When the third is that low, you don't win many games.
No, you certainly don't. The score usually ends up like your percentage. You get 4, the other team gets 8. Well, here's a good try, though. It's going to end up shot rock. It's going to be partially buried, but a good shot by Louise Herlinvaux.
Excellent stone by Herlinvaux, although Lorraine Lang will be able to see a corner of it.
You'll see there's lots of room. The brush being held by Heather Houston inside the center line, and they're just establishing the weight. Lorraine Lang and Heather Houston, great communication. Houston usually puts the brush down and say, okay, Lorraine, just your normal takeout weight. Don't overthrow it or she'll stay on that center line and she will not curl. So just throw your normal takeout weight. If you overthrow it, you're going to miss it.
Well, this Ontario rink disposed of another Canadian and world champion to get this far. They defeated Marilyn Dart 8-1 in the Ontario Provincial Championships in Sudbury. This stone has to bend off that center line if she's going to make contact with the shot rock.
Now it's starting to come. Has she got a piece of it? No, she just touched it.
She actually moved it in behind cover just a little more.
And I think that may be just a little bit overthrown. And that's why the rock stayed right there. She touched it. She was just, 2 feet quieter in her weight. She would have taken it out. Think this Pat Sanders doesn't know the game? She's going in around the other guard. It's a good call.
She wasted a little time in making that decision and placing the broom for third Louise Herlinvaux.
You know, right from this end, it's beginning. Team Canada and Pat Sanders, in the back of their mind, they wanted to score 2. If they scored more, it was a bonus. But if they get 2 here, they are right back in this game. And, you know, if they get 2 in this end, Don, it really changes their outlook and their philosophy on the game. They know they can score a couple of points. They haven't curled very well, and they're still in the game. So psychologically, this is a big end for Team Canada.
No. No. Yep. Come on. Go deep.
But look at that rock stay out there. It is not. They've passed that run in the top of the 12-foot by a good foot. Wide open.
So that shot stone just delivered by Louise Herlinvaux comes to rest at the top of the 4-foot.
You can see the expression on her face. She can't believe that it didn't curl. They wanted that rock to move a little bit more, Don, and get partially hidden.
Yeah, you just can't sweep those ones on the center line. Like, period.
You
She threw it really good, too. She had the shot made. It's called sweeping right.
That reference to the last shot by Lorraine Lang, when she said we didn't call the sweeping right because she had the shot made, but it just stayed on that center line. It didn't bend at all. Now, we talked about Louise Herlinvaux only curling at 48%. One of the reasons Ontario is in front, the skip, Heather Houston, at 90%.
Here's a bad sweeping call. They just about lost this one. They do get a corner of it, but let me tell you, if they had jumped on it a little bit earlier, it could started to move a little bit. She hit and rolled out. And Heather knows it.
Put one back there, but I'm not sure that it's going to come off the center line. We can hit that one. What do you think? We could hit it. I'm going to go around.
Probably the best place for it.
Just leave it right
Well, the
there.
trouble for Pat Sanders is that she wants to bring this rock in here, but I really don't think she feels very confident of that rock curling by that one at the top of the 12.
Maybe we better do that.
She may even
we could
look at
roll
hit
over.
and try to roll, and that's exactly what she's looking at now, Don. Because the rock does not curl, it maybe changes her
no matter
perception
what
of
we
this
do.
shot. She may want to hit and
I
roll.
want to keep my weight low, so a little more.
Well, even that's a lot of ice for a hit and roll. I'll tell you that she's going to be very quiet. There's one thing about it, if she hits and rolls out, the one that she's got buried is 3/4 buried on the other side. It'd be very tough for Heather Houston to get at.
Yeah, but I don't want to overthrow this. We'll wait. We can even roll over.
Gina Hawks holding the broom, and here's Pat Sanders, 57%.
Well, this is a very key shot on this 6th end for the team.
Well, they want to
from
make sure they get a
Victoria.
roll. Nice and quiet. She's got a good shot. She's going to get a great roll here. Way over. Now they got to work it. Oh, a beautiful shot. Now they work it hard. Oh, a great shot by Pat Sanders. Now that curling. That is an outstanding curling shot.
Yes, she deserves congratulations on that shot as Team Canada lies 2.
A great call by Georgina Hawks, too. She jumped, got the girls to sweep it. Look at the other one, just stay. Masulu stays right with it. Look at how she gets it right in around there. Touches the other one and gets it partially hidden behind the other one. That's just good team communication, good team playing.
So now Pat Sanders can relax for a moment and contemplate what might happen with this final stone of the 6th end from Heather Houston. Sanders still has 1 rock remaining.
I hope she rolls in the open so I can hit. I don't want it to rock. Why? Just because I don't trust this ice.
Do you think Pat's a little nervous about her draw weight? She said, hope she hits it and rolls into the open so I can hit. Oh, but those rocks are lined up beautifully for Team Canada because one is partially hidden behind a red one belonging to Ontario, and the other one's hidden partially behind their own. So.
No line!
So now this is a very key shot for Heather Houston.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. There could be a good chance it could be tied up after this end. Houston trying to corner freeze it on the one. They're working it hard. They don't want to touch the front one and just stay in the open. Oh, no. Free draw to score 3 for Team Canada. Heather Houston, Don, was trying to pull around that rock and kind of corner freeze it on the shot rock, and it just rubbed the front one and didn't get in for second shot.
Well, an opportunity now for Pat Sanders to draw for 3 and tie this match at 4.
On the out turn? No. More ice, though. Oh, okay.
Well, you know what turned this whole end around was that miss by Lorraine Lang.
Yeah, edge of the 4. It's good.
Well, Sanders and her Team Canada mates were playing this end for at least a pair. They're going to get that, and maybe the tying point as well.
Oh, and psychologically, what a big lift this is for Team Canada because they haven't played very well up to this point. And now all of a sudden they got a chance to be tied, and they are working hard on it. Great brushing by Deb Masulo and Louise Herlinvold. Is she going to be there? They are working hard on it. They have to be full 8 foot. They are still brushing. They're not quitting on it. Did it go far enough?
Yes.
Yes, it did. Great sweeping by Louise Herlinvold, and Deb Masulo got that rock there.
So Pat Sanders with a couple of fine shots on this 6th end gets her team right back in it. After 6, it's tied at 4.
There's heart in this land. It's there in all we do. That's why hands across this country reach for the blue. And when we get together, it's a taste that's clean and true. So when you call, then you call for the blue. You know it's gotta be blue. That's why you call for the blue. That's why you call for your blue. It's time to call for the blue.
Been waiting long?
Just a couple of minutes. What did you think of that investment proposal?
I think we should go with these people. I like their attitude, and we're bound to do better than leaving our money in savings.
And the broker?
He seems really competent, easy to talk to, and what I liked most, he took the time to explain things. I'd say he's first rate.
I'm not surprised.
What do you mean?
You never would settle for second best.
Richardson Greenshields, investment advisors to Canadian Enterprise and enterprising Canadians.
If you've ever wondered what Purex softness is made of, it's very plain to see. Oodles of pillows galore with softness you're bound to adore. They nestle and jiggle in rows as off to the puffer they goes. Softness and puff and all that nice stuff, that's what Purex softness is made of. We put hundreds of soft little pillows in every sheet. It's softness you can see.
we kept things any juicier, you'd need a spoon.
St. John River lazily winds its way through western New Brunswick, and Fredericton is nestled along the banks, providing a postcard setting for this charming city. Let's take you for a quick drive down one of the prettiest streets, Waterloo Row. These stately Victorian mansions remind us that Fredericton is one of the oldest cities in Canada. Just down the street from these mansions is Christ Church Cathedral. It is considered to be the finest example of neo-Gothic architecture in North America. Just over the hill from the cathedral is the University of New Brunswick campus. This is the old arts building. It was opened way back in 1829, and they still use it today. Fredericton is a craftsperson's haven. They are internationally known for handcrafting items. Pewter is one of the sought-after crafts by tourists, and probably many of the curlers are taking something like this home with them.
Well, there are some trophies on display in the Aitken Center that the 8 ladies on the ice have designs on, and they would like to take home with them. The championship trophy and replicas of that trophy. Each member of the rink will receive a replica of that championship trophy. Will Pat Sanders successfully defend, or will a new champion be crowned in Heather Houston of Thunder Bay? 4 ends remain to be played. The score is tied at 4. And Team Canada just removes that Ontario stone that was sitting out in front of the house. Ontario with last rock advantage on this 7th end. They used the big end to advantage during round robin play. One of the reasons they were able to compile a record of 9 wins and 2 losses. They jumped on the opposition for 3 points, as we saw, on 9 occasions, and they have now made it 10 with the 3 they just scored on the last end.
Well, for Ontario, Don, they got to regroup. They still have advantage of the last rock. They're tied up. They're playing the 7th end. They cannot panic. They just got to keep playing the same steady game that they've played. 1 missed shot, they got 3 scored on them. You got to forget about it, get on to the next end, and play aggressively.
Diane Adams throwing up that corner guard. And as she looks at the stone down at the other end, Pat Sanders runs out to take a look at it.
Right there, it's good. And
she's calling for another corner guard from Georgina Hawks.
Well, she's going to play a little bit more aggressive now. She feels maybe that 3-ender they just scored is a demoralizing factor in this game, and she's going to put a little bit more pressure on the Ontario team by throwing up a corner guard. But I don't think that'll faze Heather Houston. I think if she throws up a corner guard, Houston may go around it. But of course, if it's on the center line, I think Houston will run it off.
Whoa, it's good. Down little, come on, little. Rock charge.
2 stones now out front. Georgina Hawks, a hairdresser at the Fashion Focus Salon back in Victoria. Said she also works as a cocktail waitress at their club, the St. Michael's University Racket Club in Victoria.
In Ontario are going to peel that rock off, Don, and there's a good chance if she hits maybe about a quart of it, she may spin over and put her own into the rings, but for now they'd be quite happy just to run it off and roll their shooter away.
That's exactly what happens.
That's a good shot.
You know, the last time we were in this Aitken Center for a major curling event was 1982, when Soren Grahn won the World Junior Curling Championship, defeating Mert Tomset of Manitoba.
No, actually, one more up there.
Pat Sanders calling for another corner guard from Louise Herlinville.
Whoa, got lots, guys.
You hear Pat Sanders saying it's got lots. Berlinville. Nice draw weight right on the center line.
Wait.
And Heather Houston taking a long, hard look at this, and she may be contemplating going around that center guard. She wouldn't go around it when it was on the corner. Now she's taking a long, hard look at it. I think she's going to maybe have Lang go around it, and that's exactly what she's doing.
Well, on the last end, Team Canada endeavoring to get more than one, and they did with a big 3. And now on this 7th end, Ontario is attempting to get more than one, and they feel they can do it if Lorraine Lang can navigate around this center guard.
Well, it's a little bit of a gamble. When you gamble in the corner, Don, when you have last rock, and it doesn't work out for you, at least the center's open. You can maybe draw to the center to save the end. But if you go around the center guard and it doesn't work out, you don't have any room to draw. So it's a bit of a gamble here for Ontario. You see that rock stayed very straight, well in the open, and to the back of the house.
So now Louise Herlinville will attempt to remove the stone that Lorraine Lang just placed in that 8-foot ring.
Look at the ice Pat Sanders is giving Herlinville. It gets right in the center of the rock, meaning the rock will run very straight all the way down. As soon as she releases this rock, Pat Sanders will say, come on, or whoa. They yell right away, and then they kind of let up a bit, so she's got to be very close to making a perfect shot. A little bit of an inside roll. It's running very straight.
That way.
A little bit of an outside roll.
Team Canada lies 1. Team Canada drew first blood in this match with a single point on the opening end. But Ontario came back with 2 on the second. They stole 1 in the third. Team Canada blanked the 4th, but that strategy backfired as Ontario stole another on the 5th. But then on the 6th end, the big 3 for Team Canada, and that's the way it stands. Team Canada 4, Ontario 4, playing this 7th end. 1 stone in the rings belonging to Team Canada, and Lorraine Lang is going after it.
And playing the in turn, as opposed to the straight turn being the out turn. They're working hard on it. They want to hang around. They don't want to roll away. Oh, is it going to hang on the corner? No.
Just off the rings.
Just off the rings. And now it allows Team Canada to duck in around that center guard. It's very important that Lorraine Lang hit and stayed in play, forcing Team Canada to make a play on it.
Well, remember you threw that one. You threw it about there.
Yeah?
About here.
Yeah, right.
Right there.
Okay. Maybe if I dump it, it'll curl.
Okay, well, we want to take one there.
Okay.
Well, Pat Sanders
There's a
certainly
raise.
seems to be loose and relaxed. She said, maybe if I dump it, it'll curl.
That's true, you know. I mean, if the rock runs very straight, like it won't curl in a certain area, if you happen to turn it inside, it will curl a little bit more for you because you did roll it inside.
Don't worry about the 6th end.
No, I'm not
Forget
going
about it. Oh, you hit and then roll over in the corner, and it's a good shot.
Obviously, that 6th end is still bothering Lorraine Lang.
Well, it really is, you know, because she was so close to having a perfect shot. You know, if she makes it, she's lying 3, and it ends up that Canada gets 3, you know, so that's quite a turnaround. Oh, how about the shot Pat Sanders made with her last rock in the 5th end? Just get one of those out of there. She would still be 1 down if it wasn't for that shot.
That's right. Team Canada lies 1.
And well in the open.
Look at that. Well, we both steal, so you go for the barrier. That's all. It wasn't going to bury.
Floated this goddamn thing again.
Now, did you float it, Pat?
I gotta do something about my wrist. Just regular.
See, and I think that's been their problem all along, the first 4 or 5 ends. Like, they were really struggling. I think maybe Deb Masula was maybe floating hers outside, and Georgina Hawks was rolling hers a bit inside, so it would curl a bit more. And really, when your lead throws them outside the broom, and your second rolls them inside the broom, and your third doesn't do anything of anything, it makes difficult ice reading.
That's what she does here. What ice do we take for the raise, though?
I think it costs a little bit closer.
Boy, the communication between third and skip is so important. You know, every once in a while the skip blanks out because they're watching so many rocks go up and down the ice. You have to have a strong third or strong vice skip to tell you exactly what the ice is doing. If you're a vice skip, you better make sure you know.
Heather Houston removes that Team Canada rock. The shooter rolls over to the right-hand side, out of the rings, just a few inches away from the boards.
One rock.
They're certainly having a lot of fun trying to figure out how to get in there.
It's like a useless thing to do, right?
That's the tough thing with the ice being high in the center, Don. It will not climb the hill and bury in the center. Either turn, in turn or out turn.
Or I could come there. I know it'll curl there. It's not a bad shot.
Heather Houston probably thinking ahead to what shot she might face.
You know, in curling, you have to play the percentages. Obviously, Pat Sanders and Georgina Hawks feel they can't get into the center playing the in-turn or the out-turn, so they're going to play the out-turn away from the center line, try to get around the corner guard.
Well, you know, we heard Pat Sanders say a few minutes ago that she only got one rock left. Yesterday, in one of the tiebreakers, Lorraine Lang was so pumped up in that morning game against Manitoba, she threw three rocks.
Well, that happens.
Everybody on the team lost count of the number of stones that had been played, so that meant that Heather Houston, the skip, only had one rock.
Well, obviously, Pat Sanders has decided to try and go in around the center guard. It looked to me, and the last time she left the house, she was going to play going around the corner guard, and she ends up there anyway.
Well, she got the rub off that center guard and gets a break because she is now going to force Heather Houston to take one on this end or give up one because she cannot blank the end. There is no way she can get at that Team Canada stone.
Well, not only that, if Pat Sanders doesn't rub that guard, she may go right through the rings. And it could have been a simple blank for Heather Houston.
It's really touchy out there. Maybe you can play the blank if you want to try. Still the same down there, Trace? Yeah. Gotta have some 8-foot. Yeah. Need some 8-foot.
Like a good front end, the skip says, what's it like, Tracy? Is it the same as last end? Tracy, and of course Diane said, yes, it is. Skipper, you go the same weight, we'll get it there. She has a lot of weight.
Team Canada lies 1. Score tied at 4. The final stone of this 7th end by Ontario skip Heather Houston. Will it hang around, or is it going to slip right through?
He's strong. He's going right through.
Right out the back door. So Team Canada trailing at 1 point in this match by a score of 4-1 has fought back to take the lead by a single point with 3 ends left to play.
She's Scotty's little softie and she can stop a sneeze. Scotties are her best friend, my dog. Aww, she can wipe away each tear for everyone that's dear. Scotties are soft for all my friends. She can wipe away your makeup just as quickly as you please. Scotties are so gentle on my skin, darling. Scotties soften the blow.
It's provincial bonus time, and there are 500 instant provincial bonuses worth $5,000 each. Yeah, that's the ticket. Just think, 500 of you could buy 500 spiffy new wardrobes. Nice suit. Or all 500 of you could go to a health spa. Woo! Imagine 500 families could build swimming pools for the backyard. Hi there. So get into the swim. Between February 27th and April 1st, everybody can play the provincial. The provincial bonus draw. It's 500 chances at $5,000.
I've heard talk about changes in the tax laws. Changing tax laws used to confuse me. But now I go to H&R Block and I don't have to worry anymore.
It's our job to know all about the tax rules, so you don't have to worry.
and you will always get the biggest refund you have coming.
H&R Block sure helped me out this year.
Hello.
We know the answers. We'll get you the biggest refund you have coming.
And welcome back to Sports Weekend Control. NHL this afternoon, Boston, New Jersey tied at 5 in the third. And from everyone here at CBC Sports, we'd like to congratulate our colleague Terry Leibel, who yesterday gave birth to a 6-pound baby girl, the name Alexis Lily. Mother, daughter doing fine. We're not too sure about husband Josh, but her due date was March 4th, and Terry wants everyone here at CBC to know she is a pro because she can take account, came in right on time, and so can I. Let's return to Fredericton. Scott Tournament of Hearts. Here's Don Whitman.
All right, Ken and Don Duguid, Colleen and I join in extending our very best to Terry Leibel on the birth of the daughter. And a lady who is standing by and has an offspring at home to worry about as well, but is more concerned right now with the curling here at the Aitken Center is Colleen Jones.
Thank you, Don. And Gary DeBlonde is our 8th end guest. Gary, of course, is the coach of the national men's and women's Olympic teams. Now, Gary, all Canadians want to know, how close are we to becoming a full medal sport? Curling was just a demonstration sport at the Calgary Olympics.
Well, that's a hard question to answer. I'd like to know myself what's happening. In Calgary, we received word that we'd be a demonstration sport again in 1992, so that's very positive. Now, being a demonstration sport, that means that people were from other countries, International Olympic Committee members would come and watch and see what the sport was all about, and they did that. Now, we are hopeful that in either 1994 or 1998, we will be included as a full medal sport.
Was all the money and time we spent during the Olympic trials last spring preparing for all of this, was it all worth it?
Well, I hope so. You know, we tried something new, we tried something different, and we've learned some things, and what we have to do is do things, try new things now so that we are fully prepared when we do become a full medal sport.
Okay, so 92, we are a demonstration sport again in France.
That's right, so we're looking forward to that.
Okay, thank you very much, Gary. We're going to go back up to Don and Don for the 8th end action.
Yes, the 1992 Olympic Games taking place in Albertville, France, and they will certainly have quite a task to try and duplicate the effort that we witnessed in Calgary. Tremendous job by the citizens of Calgary and the volunteer people under the chairmanship of Frank King. A very successful show. Juan Antonio Samaranch, in his closing statement, said the best Winter Olympic Games ever, and those who attended would certainly echo those sentiments. 5-4, Canada leading Ontario, playing the 8th end. The shot stone belongs to Team Canada. Partially on the button, a red rock belonging to Ontario right behind it in the forefoot. And there is a center guard there, something perhaps for Houston and her Ontario mates to take advantage of.
Well, for Houston, she decided that she's going to try and score 2 points here, and she froze to a rock on the button belonging to Team Canada. Team Canada came down, made a good shot, and now they're frozen to one belonging to Ontario. So from the outset here, Ontario is going to try and score 2 points. They certainly can't let Team Canada score any more points. They're going to have to play aggressively, Don, because that big 3 in the 6th end has really given Team Canada a lot of confidence. They stole a point. Houston missed a very bad shot that end. A little bit of a break for Team Canada, hitting and rolling to the corner, but you cannot afford to miss those free ones.
One thing Pat Sanders does not want here is a lot of rocks in play on this 8th end.
Well, she wants to hold Houston to 1, or maybe steal 1 herself. If she steals 1 point, she's got pretty good control of the game. And you're right, when you're up, you don't want too many rocks in play. A little bit of a conference here.
Well, let's eavesdrop.
Yeah, we are shot. This way. Okay. Yeah, because even if you do drift out on it, you'll get the double. That's a good shot. Unless you miss it all. I won't. What do you want to throw? Yeah.
I'm quite amazed at how loose and relaxed Pat Sanders appears to be, despite the pressure that she is obviously under.
Well, she's under pressure, Don, but she enjoys the game of curling so much And her whole team does. Georgina Hawks, Hurlenvo, and Masula, they enjoy it so much. They're together so often. They have a lot of fun out there. They're competitive, and they're great curlers. And that's what makes the game so much fun. If you have fun and you're a good curler, boy, the rewards are they're just great. She said, don't miss it altogether. They got to be very careful, because if she hits and rolls away, that other rock is right behind cover, in good shape to steal another point.
Could she get two here? No, she slides across the face of the other. But she removes the Ontario stone that was of immediate concern. That was the rock sitting at the back of the 4-foot.
Can I ice you real tight? Yeah, I'll ice you real tight. If we take that, that's good.
Well, you heard Houston's instruction. She wants Diane Adams to come down to that stone, but if she rubs off that center guard, she isn't too concerned. Diane Adams with a decided advantage in percentage over her opposite number, Georgina Hawks of Team Canada.
Well, you heard Houston say to Diane Adams, if you touch the front one, all right, because that'll end up maybe covering her own that's in the back of the 12-foot.
She's going to touch that front one. She's going to raise it back into the rings.
Oh, pretty solid. Right back onto her own, too. This is not a very good shot. I think it curled a little bit more than they wanted to, and now the advantage is definitely in the favor of Team Canada. That's an unfortunate break for Ontario. And now for Pat Sanders, if she can put the guard on the center, there's a good chance she may end up stealing one here, or maybe more. Lots of rocks to come yet.
Yeah, good line.
You hear Pat Sanders yelling down to her team, good line. The way to the curling rock is the responsibility of the two sweepers. The line is judged by the holder of the broom, and that's all. Nobody else. Look at this.
That's good.
Perfect line, right on the center line. No openings. Guarded the one in the back of the 4-foot perfect.
Perfect cover for that shot stone. Team Canada lies 2.
Well, this is a bit of a gamble. I think if I was Houston here, I may try to run one back. And that's exactly what Lorraine Lang is having a look at. Maybe get a break and drive it right back onto the one on the back of the 4-foot. Because if she misses the draw, then she's in a lot of trouble.
Play the peel, okay?
This is a good call. And Lorraine Lang called this shot, not Heather Houston.
Well, play bumper weight for the peel, though. Yeah. No, play regular. No, you have to play regular. You can't throw that. Yeah.
Just determining what weight they will throw. Lorraine Lang out curling Louise Hurlenvo. As we've mentioned a couple of times, this is the 3rd year that there has been a 12th team in this Canadian Women's Championship, the Scott Tournament of Hearts. Linda Moore was the first to defend her title, and she lost in the final to Marilyn Dart. Last year, Marilyn Dart finished with a record of 4-7 at the Canadian Championships in Lethbridge, as Pat Sanders defeated Kathy Elwood of Manitoba for the title. And here Sanders is attempting to defend her crown, and that stone is raised back onto the second shot rock, and Team Canada is still left lying 2.
Well, a little bit of a bad break for Lorraine Lang of Ontario. You'll see the rock actually flowed out. She hits about a half a rock. She drives it straight back. It looks like maybe she's going to end up with second shot. Look, she hits a little bit out on the outside. Her rock spins to the edge of the 12-foot, and Team Canada still lies 2. Now, things are getting a little bit more difficult. A little bit of concern showing on the face of Heather Houston.
I think the peel on the center guard is a better shot on your next one.
Well, they're already thinking ahead. Should Louise Hurlenvo cover up that shot stone, you might see Ontario try and peel that center guard.
Oh.
Well, this one looks like it's coming well into the rings. You don't want it to come too deep. Now, Pat Sanders says, look, we're not going to guard it. We might as well bring it in. The further we bring it, the more it'll curl. Now.
Team Canada lies 3.
Well, for Lorraine Langdon, the key here is that she must save her shooter. If she comes down here, maybe hits it a little bit on the inside, she may get a break and run it back onto that one. But if she hits it on the inside and rolls in here somewhere, there's a good chance they could get out of this end. But the key is that she has to save her shooter, Don, and there's not much room because as that rock is coming past the guard, it seems to fall back a bit. It doesn't curl. You can see the brush that Heather Houston is giving Lorraine Lang. She can't afford to miss it on the outside. She can't afford to just chip it and roll her shooter away. She has to save her shooter. This is the critical part of this rock. She's well out there. No, sir. Another bad break.
Well, she drives that guard stone through the rings. The shooter also rolls out.
I'd like to have it buried. All right, be short.
You know, it's interesting with this Team Canada rink, as we look at Heather Houston and Lorraine Lang. Although Louise Herlinville throws third stones, she doesn't get involved in any of the strategy discussions at all.
Good line.
Georgina Hawks holds the broom for the skip, Pat Sanders, and Georgina and Pat plot the strategy.
Well, it's the reverse role of last year. Georgina Hawks was throwing third rock, and so I guess they're used to it that way. But for Pat Sanders here, Don, she wants to put the guard on. If she puts the guard on, I think Houston will have to play the in-turn draw. Try to get a piece of the forfeit. Pat Sanders is well out there. The rock has a lot of curling to look at how still well out the other side of the center line. Now they got to bring it. Is she going to leave a little bit of an opening? They're brushing it hard. The further they brush it, the more it'll curl.
Now, is there an opening there?
I think there is. I think there's room for Heather Houston to play the out turn and come through that hole.
For me? It was a little wide. I know. I'm just looking at it. I didn't want to take the front off. But you know, that one then took it that out. What? Take the front off. But you know, things open. Do you know what? What? I'm going to make you take one, not two.
Well, the big shot here for Heather Houston, Don, if she can come through this opening and hit this rock and stay right there, and then force Pat Sanders maybe to come through the same hole, and if Pat Sanders is unfortunate enough to maybe rub one of these guards up here, then for Heather Houston, she just simply come down here and hit this one and could end up getting 3. So this is the big shot.
Wait, bumper?
Let me tell you, if Heather Houston misses this one, she is really in a lot of trouble.
But if she makes it, now has the pressure ever switched over to the shoulders of Pat Sanders?
Oh, yes, because I tell you, that's a dangerous shot. And Pat knows that. If she gets a little bit of a roll on this one, like I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see Pat Sanders draw and maybe just hold her down to one.
Concede one.
Yes, sir. Because
this could be the match right here.
Oh, yeah, if she goes through that opening.
Is it going to bend enough? I don't think so.
It's starting to come now, Don. It's starting to move. Is it going to get by? No, it's just going to touch the front one.
She just rubbed that stone out front. I think we detected a sigh of relief from Georgina Hawks as she was watching that rock come down. Maybe just a touch less weight, and it would have curled.
Well, it would have been, but now this is where the killer instinct comes in. You know, you're up 1, you can maybe play the guard away out here and say, okay, leave her this wide in-turn draw for her point. But I know Pat Sanders, she'd like to pull this rock right into here. There's a big difference drawing against 3 than there is 2, so I think this is called the killer instinct in curling. If you can put it right in there, right on top of your own, say, okay, go ahead.
Well, that's why the diminutive Pat Sanders won the Canadian Championship last year and subsequently the world title.
It's like golf, Don. Do you hit it to the center of the green, or do you go to win the tournament over the trap and the pin is right behind the trap?
Well, with me. I just hope I don't dump it in the trap.
Well, with me to start off with, I'm not even on the fairway. Oh, she may be a little bit too strong.
She didn't want to be that deep.
No, she sure didn't.
So now she leaves Heather Houston with an opportunity to tie the match.
The pocket. That's the killer instinct. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out for her. If she was maybe 3 feet lighter, she had a perfect shot. And Pat Sanders knows it.
All I need is a tiny piece of this one. If it starts to move, it should start to move.
Remember that one that kind of
That picked.
This is called letting your opponent off the hook.
Yes, Pat Sanders had a chance here on this end to perhaps put it away.
I'm telling you, this is no easy shot for Heather Houston. You're down 1, you're playing the 8th end, you're playing the former Canadian World Championship. They're lying 3. You have to be there. I mean, if you ever hit the rock a little bit on the outside, they steal another one on you. If you hit it a little bit too thick, maybe roll over the face of the other one in the 4-foot, they steal one on you. So this is not an easy shot for Heather. It looks fairly easy. This is a pressure shot. For Lorraine Wang, she'll have to watch the line. Look at her, she gets right down behind that rock. As soon as Heather let it go.
And she called them off.
Well, they can't afford to hit it too thick. That rock is staying right there. She's got a good shot.
So Heather Houston comes through on the 8th end with her final stone. And with 2 ends remaining in this Scott Tournament of Hearts championship game here in Fredericton, it's Team Canada 5, Ontario 5.
The sun, more than heat and light, the future. At Sun Life, your future is important. That's why Sun Life offers the Superflex RRSP for your retirement. It's the registered retirement savings plan that lets you choose the right option to help protect your financial needs. Sit down with a Sun Life agent and face-to-face find out how easy it is to get the RRSP that's personally suited to your needs. It's true. Sun Life can help you get the best out of life.
It was important to get this thing working again. That's why I went to H&R Block's cashback service to get my income tax refund right away.
With Cashback, we give you a check for 85% of the first $300 of your refund and 95% of the rest.
H&R Block's cashback was the answer, and no extra charge for preparing my return.
More Canadians want their refund for something that can't wait. Get it fast. Just look for the Cashback sign.
When you have headache pain, there's one thing you want most, effective relief, and you want relief fast. The kind you get with aspirin. Medical evidence proves it. Aspirin gives you effective relief. And for many people, aspirin brings relief in minutes.
I feel great now, and aspirin did it.
When you have headache pain, today's aspirin gives you what you want most, effective relief, and you get relief fast.
Coming up on Sports Weekend, from Whistler, British Columbia, a men's World Cup downhill. Swiss veteran Franz Heinzer looks to return to the winner's podium.
Well, we have a lot of drama about to unfold over the final 2 ends here at the Aitken Center, with the score tied at 5. And a trip to the Ladies World Curling Championships in Glasgow, Scotland, awaiting the winner of this game between the defending champion, Pat Sanders, and her Team Canada rink, and the Ontario champions, represented by Heather Houston of Thunder Bay. Say, talking about champions, a group of young men from right here in Fredericton will be heading to Fusen, West Germany for the men's World Junior Curling Championship. Dan Alderman, Craig Burgess, Charlie Sullivan, and skip Jim Sullivan will be wearing Canadian colors at the World Championships in Fusen. They were the Canadian junior champions from last year, winning that title in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. This year's Pepsi Junior Men's and Women's Championship will take place at the North Shore Winter Club, and we'll be there on April 2nd to provide CBC viewers with coverage of that one.
Well, Don, what started to be or looked like it was going to be a runaway after 5 ends, 4-1 for Ontario. They have scored 1 point, and Team Canada has scored 4. And it looks like Team Canada has really got control of this game now, and the experience of Team Canada may show through here as Pat Sanders, I know, will try and maybe blank this end or score 2 and take real control of the game. And she wouldn't be unhappy if she blanked to have advantage of last rock coming home.
She'd be quite happy to have the hammer heading into the 10th end.
I think as long as she doesn't have to draw, because she seems to be a little bit concerned with her draw weight. And you know what, interesting enough, Ontario will pick up on that. If it goes this way and they blank the end and they come down to the last end, I know that Ontario will try and force Pat Sanders to play a draw, because she hasn't played that many. She's played a few, but not that many. And the one she's played hasn't been that great.
Stone delivered by Georgina Hawks, goes right through the rings. And now Diane Adams will attempt to throw up a guard. You know, we talked about the Pepsi Junior Men's and Women's Championship taking place at the North Shore Winter Club. The juniors have gone to that concept of the Men's and Women's Championships being determined at the same time. There is some suggestion that at the World Championship we may see that happen.
Well, there are getting to be so many national events and so many world events, Don, that we're actually running out of time to hold them all. I mean, when they're in Europe, there's a couple of events in Europe and a couple in Canada or in the United States. Getting there and back, it's pretty time consuming, and it's very difficult to cover these events. So I think they're looking at that type of format, maybe having the ladies world and the ladies men's together.
The ladies men's.
Ladies men's.
That's a new event.
Yeah. Okay.
The center guard, delivered by Diane Adams. The rock actually slides right into the top of the 12-foot. And now Pat Sanders is asking Georgina Hawks to run this stone.
Well, when you're trying to steal a point, you certainly don't want the rocks in the house, because that's where the other team wants to play, in the house. You want them out in front, and they hit them on the nose, and maybe you go around and cover. They want to save the shooter. No luck.
So the shooter also rolls out of play. And we have 8 rocks to be delivered in this 9th end. The score tied at 5. It would be remiss if we did not extend our congratulations to the 2 newest members of the Canadian Curling Hall of Fame. Lindsay Sparks, who threw 3rd stones for Linda Moore at the Olympics in Calgary. And Chris Moore of Winnipeg, a former Canadian champion, a junior champion, and a women's champion. They've both been added to the Curling Hall of Fame, of which my esteemed colleague, Don Duguid, is a member.
Oh, yes, that's a great honor to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Don, I was looking at the draw for Labatt Brier and Chicoutimi, and the last draw could prove very interesting with so many great teams there. The very last draw of the Brier, the round-robin play, Northern Ontario plays Manitoba, which is Al Hackner versus Kerry Burtnick. They've played each other quite a few times. And Saskatchewan, Eugene Ritzik is playing Pat Ryan. So that could determine maybe 2nd and 3rd spot, or 1st and 2nd. It is going to be a real dogfight time.
Do you think Pat Ryan of Alberta would like another shot at Al Hackner to gain some revenge for that loss he suffered a few years ago in Moncton?
I know one thing. I know Pat Ryan is happy to be curling outside of Alberta.
And Herlenbow removes that Ontario stone that was sitting out front. And again, Ontario continues the same approach. Lorraine Lang is asked to place a center guard. Well, maybe they've had a change in heart. Maybe she's going to go into the rings from the way they tap the ice down there.
Well, what she's looking for maybe is to put it in the rings and hope that Team Canada hits it on the nose. Being 1 down coming home with the advantage of last rock is not a bad position to be in, because number one, you're guaranteed of 1 point because we assume that you're going to make your last shot and tie the game, but you gamble for all you're worth and try and score 2. So that's not a bad situation. Mind you, I like being 5 up coming home. Felt much safer. I never was, but I feel much safer.
The stone just off the center line. Pat Sanders asks Louise Herlenbeau to take that one out of there.
With the outturn, you can see where Pat Sanders is holding the brush right on the rocks. It runs very straight there. You know, all 8 of these ladies have just great curling deliveries down there, right in behind the rock. And here is a guess. Wouldn't you know I said that? She just fans one. But every one of them has beautiful curling delivery, right in behind the rock. You know, that's what makes them so good.
And now an opportunity for Ontario to perhaps take control of the game.
Right there.
Well, at least cause a little bit of concern. Even if Heather Houston goes in around and puts this rock in the 4-foot, I'm sure that Pat Sanders will play it tight, even if she rubs the guard. And Pat Sanders wouldn't mind. She wouldn't be upset if she got 1 stone on her, but she certainly doesn't want to get 2 stones on her. And for Houston here, Don, she has to be very careful that she buries this rock. Because if she stays in the open and then Pat Sanders hits and rolls behind cover, then she's in all kinds of trouble. Both teams don't mind either one of them scoring 1, but they certainly don't want to give up 2. So these last 4 rocks are going to be very critical to the outcome of this game.
Not like I was against BC. That's good.
So now Heather Houston with the in-turn draw attempting to sneak in behind that center guard. She's got a lot of weight.
And she's got a lot of room. You heard Lorraine Lang saying lots of room. The sweepers haven't laid a brush to it. It should start to bend a little bit now. They want to make sure that they take it into the 4. Now they should take it a little bit. Not too far. Oh, that's a pretty nice draw, right?
Right to the button.
Right to the button is right. It's partially open. But the key for Pat Sanders is weight. She cannot afford to throw it. Too much weight at this or it'll float out on her.
Well, Pat Sanders will have some discussion with her front end as she gets set to throw this stone.
That's as good as you can do there. That's perfect weight.
You heard Lorraine Lang say to her, that's as good as you can do there, Heather. You have the proper weight, it just will not come in. The danger here is that if you throw it a little bit inside, it's liable to curl and you're liable to wreck on the guard. But that's not bad for Sanders in this case. She certainly doesn't want to go by on the outside, either get one or the other. Preferably the one in the 4-foot would be great. See her, boy, she took her hand off that pretty fast. She was very close to that line. Oh, she got a nice looking shot here.
A beauty.
Now they should roll it away over to the corner somewhere. Not leave it sit there. They made a little bit of an inexperience there, Don. If you roll it away over to the corner, it doesn't allow Heather Houston to hit and roll behind the guard again. If you roll it away over the corner, Houston's got to say to herself, well, should I gamble, go around the corner guard, or should I hit it? I better hit it. I don't mind giving up 1, but not 2, or let her blank the end.
Well, Heather Houston ideally here would like to hit that stone and roll over to the right, in behind that center guard.
Exactly. Replace it maybe a little bit better in her draw. Get fully in behind that guard.
What she doesn't want to do is have the shooter roll out.
No, that's right. Then it's a clear blank. You know, you have to start all over again in the 10th end because you're tied up. The other team does not have it, or has the advantage of last rock. But you want to make sure, of course, here that you hit the rock. And maybe you get a little bit of luck. Maybe Pat Sanders will hit it on the nose, and then you're 1 down coming home, but you have the advantage of last rock. Looks like she has nice line.
Will she get a roll?
She's gonna hit it. Stay right there.
A nose hit, but Ontario lies 1. And now Pat Sanders will be attempting with last stone to hit and roll out. She would like to blank this 9th end to retain last rock advantage coming home with the score tied at 5.
Well, you can certainly see why Pat Sanders and her team are world champions. Down 4-1, they don't give up. They come fighting back at the 5th end break. She was talking to Colleen. Oh, we'll junk it up. We'll get back in the game. No, you know, we're confident. And here she is. She hits and rolls out. She's got complete control of this game. It's hers to win.
I'm sure there were many watching who thought that she may have been a little overly optimistic with those comments, but she knew what her team was capable of doing.
Boy, she's a long way out here. This may be air.
This one?
No, she's got a piece of it. Just a piece of it. Oh, was that close? That was close to air.
Well, Pat Sanders with her final stone of the 9th end blanks the end, and with one end remaining in this Canadian Women's Championship, it's Ontario and Team Canada tied at 5.
Ford Tempo and Mercury Topaz introduce Car Talk. That's Car Talk for sleek, all-new aerodynamic styling. That's Car Talk for quality. That's Car Talk for electronic fuel-injected performance. That's Car Talk for air conditioning. That's Car Talk for AM/FM electronic stereo. You get all this for just this. And that's Car Talk for value, which makes Tempo and Topaz our best sellers.
Juicier. You'd need a spoon.
It's provincial bonus time, and there are 500 instant provincial bonuses worth $5,000 each. Yeah, that's the ticket. Just think, 500 of you could buy 500 spiffy new wardrobes. Nice suit. Or all 500 of you could go to a health spa. Woo! Imagine 500 families could build swimming pools for the backyard. Hi there. So get into the swim. Between February 27th and April 1st, everybody can play the provincial. The provincial bonus draw. It's 500 chances at $5,000.
Well, we're back at the Aitken Center for the final end of this championship game between the defending title holders, Pat Sanders and her rink from Victoria, Team Canada, against the Ontario champions, Heather Houston of the Lakehead Ladies Curling Club in Thunder Bay.
Well, both teams know what their responsibility this end anyway, Don. For Ontario, they have to steal a point. So what they're going to do is try and junk up the front, hope the Team Canada hits one on the nose, and they can bury a rock in behind and steal the game-winning point. That's what we call stealing a point to win the game. Team Canada, on the other hand, wants to keep that area completely clear. They'd like to clear all the rocks out of the way and just have an open draw or an open hit to win the game and the Canadian Championship.
Well, Deb Masillo was a little concerned with that delivery as she tried to remove that center guard, that rock was going to drift out on her, but she caught a corner of that Ontario rock, removed it, and the shooter also rolled out of play. One rock sitting out front. That belongs to Team Canada.
Well, you know, as a last resort, that rock out in front is just covering a part of the 12-foot circle in the rings. Heather Houston may have to use that rock to try and steal the game-winning point. Remember what I said earlier? She would dearly love to make Pat Sanders play a draw because she feels in her own mind that maybe Sanders doesn't have her draw weight down pat. She's more apt to miss the draw than she is a hit. So that's what Houston is planning for. And, of course, conversely, Sanders doesn't want to play a draw. She'd sooner play a hit. So this is a cat and mouse end.
And Diane Adams delivers that stone out in front of the rings. And Pat Sanders immediately moves out there to indicate to second Georgina Hawks that she wants that stone taken out. They also want to roll the shooter out of play. They want to keep things just as clean as possible on this 10th end. The score is tied at 5. Team Canada has last rock advantage. Ooh, Louise Herlinville almost slipped and fell on top of that rock. Georgina Hawks smiles as she looks down the ice. But that was very close to a miscue on the part of Team Canada that could have proven very costly, forgetting about the possible injury that could have befallen Louise Herlinville.
If any part of her equipment, if she was wearing a button, falls on that rock, or if she touches it at all, it comes out of play. They stop it before it goes anywhere.
I think I saw a couple of the umpires all set to jump out and move out there, but of course she was able to regain her balance and not touch that stone.
You notice the opposing player is not concerned about whether they hurt themselves. They're always trying to push the other player out of the way so they don't hit the rock.
Diane Adams again places a stone out front. And immediately, Georgina Hawk settles down in the hack as Pat Sanders positions the broom as she attempts its removal.
You know, for Heather Houston here, she may want to try and put that rock in a different area. You know, this rock is a little bit deeper, so it may curl it more, and they may hit it on the nose. But maybe put it on the other side, one side of center or the other, as opposed to the center, and maybe Team Canada, different position of the rock, they may hit it and roll towards the center. You got to move the rock around a bit, give them different shots. You put it on the center line all the time, everybody knows how it runs down there, so they just throw the same weight, they hit the broom, they'll peel it out.
Well, on this 10th end so far, Team Canada has been able to keep it clean.
Well, I think if you're going to put it on the center line and Team Canada hits it on the nose, you have to throw the rock pretty bad because the ice is very straight. If you throw nice takeout weight, it'll stay right there. The sweepers will hold it straight, and you should catch a corner of it every time. For Lorraine Lang, she's playing the out turn. The rock is going to end up just about the same spot as if she'd thrown the in turn.
Well, as we said earlier, the husbands of Lorraine Lang and Diane Adams, Rick and Jim, respectively, flew in from Chicoutimi, where they're getting set to participate in the Labatt Brier beginning tomorrow, hoping that they would be able to celebrate the Canadian Women's Championship with their wives. They are watching from a viewing area up behind the curling ice. And we're getting down to nail-biting time for both the two ladies on the ice and the two gentlemen who are upstairs watching.
And that rock still, now it covers part of the 8-foot. So as a last resort, Heather Houston will maybe curl in around that rock. You see the top one in the left-hand corner, it's covering the 12-foot. This one's the 8-foot. So it's going to be a little bit better chance for Heather Houston to maybe score the game-winning point as the rocks move close to the center line. So that's not a bad spot for her. It's not great, but it's not bad.
Does she pursue the same strategy right up until her final stone?
She throws every rock out in front until her last rock. That potentially could be the game-winning point. She'll draw around those ones. She wants a nose hit somewhere on the center line, somewhere in that center area, so she can throw it in the 4-foot. And that's why she, look at that, that's perfect. That's right on the center. That's where she wants the rock hit. Now, if Pat Sanders hits this one on the nose, there's no question Heather Houston goes around it. But if she hits and rolls out, Heather will throw that one up in front again, her first rock.
And then it will come down to her final stone.
Even it isn't bad for Heather Houston now, Don, because remember what we were talking about? She wants to make Pat Sanders draw. She'll throw one in around that 8-foot and say, okay, Pat, go ahead. You hit the 8-foot.
Whoa, right off.
Oh, whoa, they said right away. They haven't laid a brush to it. She's well out there. She's going to get a piece of it. Oh, just a corner. Whoop. That was close to airtime.
Well, had that one drifted by, as you say, Heather Houston might have immediately tried to go around it.
You mean for the O-turn come around? Yeah. Okay.
Four rocks remain to be played. The score is tied at 5. Team Canada and Ontario battling for the 1988 Scott Tournament of Hearts title. Pat Sanders and her rink won last year's championship in Chicago rather handily over Andrea Schopp of West Germany.
The nice thing for Heather Houston here is she should be able to gauge her draw weight. They haven't laid a brush to it. It looks like it's got a lot of weight. It's starting to pull over. She does not want this rock in the ring. She wants it out in front. And that's where it's going to stop. That's a pretty good shot. Now she knows the weight. She knows how much it curls with that out turn. If Sanders hits this on the nose, she'll play the same turn and go around it.
halfway down, I realized, no, I wanted to be on that side for the in-turn comer, not the out-turn comer.
Well, this has been a very well-curled game. It's a shame, as in any sport. Somebody has to win, somebody has to lose. You have to give full marks to Team Canada from fighting back from a 4-1 deficit. Then you got to give a lot of accolades to the Ontario team because they played exceptionally well. With the exception of one shot, when I reflect back in the 6th end, it could have been a different story. Pat Sanders, has she got a piece of this one? Yes. Now.
She corners that stone, rolls it out of there. Just 2 rocks remain. And where will Heather Houston attempt to hide?
Well, I think she has to play the in-turn because she can get to the edge of the 8-foot. Well, for Heather Houston, this is her last rock. And she wants to get a piece of the 8-foot. Force Pat Sanders to draw. And what she's going to do is she's going to try and come in just in that area there, Don, just to catch a piece of the 8-foot and say, okay, Pat, you go ahead and draw. But, you know, to me, it looks like she has a lot of ice here.
Well, she wants to hide this stone. She doesn't want to leave any of it open for Sanders to hit. She wants to try and force Pat Sanders to draw with her final stone.
Now it should start to curl once it comes off that line. Look at it starting to move now. It's just a question of weight. Now they got to go on it. Now they got to hurry hard. Is it got enough weight?
Are they going to get it past?
Oh, it's passed on. It's just a question. Are they going to make the rings? Now they got to hurry. They brush it. Is she going to catch a piece of the 8-foot? Yes, she just catches a piece of the 8-foot. Isn't it funny? I do that circle exactly there in that position. It's partially open. And look at Pat Sanders. She's looking at hitting or she's looking at drawing. She's halfway down the ice. Hawks already standing in the middle. She hasn't even looked at the rock. And Pat Sanders is going to draw. And you look at Deb Masulo and Louise Hurlingbull. They're talking to each other all the way down the ice. Now they're going to confirm the weight.
Whatever you feel comfortable with.
So Ontario has the shot stone. 1 rock remains.
I know they have good surface.
There is nothing that Heather Houston, Lorraine Lang, Diane Adams, or Tracy Kennedy can do now.
Where?
It is all up to Pat Sanders. Her final stone. Will she defend her Women's World Championship?
Oh, it looks like they got a lot of weight. They haven't laid much brush to it. Now it started. It's going to dig in. Rick Lang is hanging over the boards. He's looking at it. Lorraine Lang is getting up to the tee line to sweep. Is it going to stop? No, it looks like it may slip to the back of the 8-foot. I think Ontario's won this game. Lorraine Lang. All we said about the draw. Make Pat Sanders draw. That's exactly what happened. And Ontario with Heather Houston, Lorraine Lang, Diane Adams, and Tracy Kennedy are Canadian champions. Hackner's out. No, Kennedy's out there. Rick Lang is hugging his wife.
Well, the wives, Lorraine Lang and Diane Adams, were not aware that their husbands were coming here to watch this game. But in the final moments, they came down from the stands to the boards to watch that final stone. They didn't want to really look at that rock as it made its way down the ice, and when Lorraine Lang swept it through, Rick Lang and Jim Adams ran out onto the ice, and Bruce Kennedy ran out there as well to embrace his wife, Tracy. Of course, Rick and Bruce were with Al Hackner when they won 2 world championships. And it is Ontario upsetting the defending champions, Team Canada, by a score of 6-5 as Pat Sanders slips through with her final stone, a draw attempt on the 10th end. So once again, the defending champions are unsuccessful in their bid to repeat as Canadian champions. Heather Houston coming through with a big draw on the final end, putting putting it partially behind cover and forcing Pat Sanders to draw, and she was just that touch heavy that enabled Ontario to win the championship. And a very elated group of ladies from Thunder Bay, from the Lakehead Ladies Curling Club, and skip Heather Houston is standing by with Colleen Jones.
Heather Houston, you weren't breathing easier at the end of the fifth end. Are you breathing easier now?
I don't think I've been breathing for about a minute and a half, to be terribly truthful. Yeah, I'm breathing.
How did you feel after you threw your last rock? Did you think a rock biting the 8-foot would be good enough to win it?
No. Pat has a great sweeping front end, and the ice was faster than it had been all week, so we figured she could throw about 24 in and they'd get it there.
It looked like after the 6th end, you guys, the wind was taken out of your sail a little bit with that 3-ender.
I think a little bit. We really didn't need to panic. We had last rock playing 7, but then Pat made a couple more great shots, and they stole one. That was interesting.
And it is now on to the World Championship.
Well,
one thing at a time.
One thing at a time. I'm going to enjoy this one. And I guess with a name like Heather, I can go to Glasgow any day.
Congratulations, Heather. We're going to be right back with the closing ceremonies after these commercials. Stay with us.
If you've ever wondered what Purex softness is made of, it's very plain to see. Oodles of pillows galore with softness you're bound to adore. They nestle and jiggle in rows as off to the puffer they goes. Softness and puff and all that nice stuff, that's what Purex softness is made of. We put hundreds of soft little pillows in every sheet. It's softness you can see.
Equestrian. The relationship between horse and rider is the most delicate in sport. And when Canada's top riders and coaches need to find that balance, they come to the source.
It's important to help the rider find and control the horse's competitive spirit, to help them learn how to pace themselves and to understand their goals and dreams.
3M works the same way with its people's dreams. In 1929, Dick Drew dreamed he could solve an industrial problem. He persevered, innovated, and applied adhesive to cellophane, resulting in the famous Scotch brand tape. 3M supports the dreams of innovators, those of its employees and those of coaches.
No feeling compares to being an Olympic champion. I know that feeling. Now I'm helping some of our young riders reach their dreams.
3M, supporting the dream with Olympic coverage on CBC.
Wayne Toyota and Trucks. For 1988, Toyota Trucks offer the widest range of engine and body styles ever. From our new V6, pumping out 145 horsepower, to our always reliable 116 horsepower four-cylinder. We've got it. 4Runners, four-wheel drive vans, and trucks. Wayne Toyota has it.
The Scott Tournament of Hearts, brought to you by Scott Paper, makers of Cottonelle, Purex, Scotties, and Scott Towels Jumbo. We built our reputation around the house.
Well, Canada has a new women's curling champion with the victory by Heather Houston, 6-5 over Team Canada, skipped by Pat Sanders. So for Tracy Kennedy, Diane Adams, Lorraine Lang, and Heather Houston, it will now be off to Glasgow, Scotland, and the Women's World Curling Championships coming up the first week in April. So a big win for the rink from Lakehead, from the Thunder Bay Curling Club in Thunder Bay, the Lakehead Curling Club, I should say, in Thunder Bay. And Don Duguid on that final end. Pat Sanders had the opportunity to win it, but as you said, she was just a touch heavy with that draw attempt.
Well, she struggled with the draw weight all game, Don, but you hate to lose a championship on, you have a last rock play in the last end and you slip through the back of the house. You hate to win that way, you hate to lose that way, but I know that the Houston team will take it.
Well, Heather Houston, with her final stone, put it where she had to, the only spot that she could really place that rock with her final stone, and she did what she had to do.
Well, she always, she did it all week, you know. She never gave up. She was up early in the game. It looked like she was going to run away with it. She didn't get demoralized when Team Canada came back and scored 3 or took control of the game. She just hung in there, and her team hung in with her. And, you know, you have to do that in any sport. And they did it, and they're very successful, and they're going to make good representatives.
Well, Ontario leading by a score of 4-1, and as Don said, they saw Team Canada come back to tie it at 4. Team Canada went ahead, but then Ontario fought back to tie it, and with that final stone on the 10th end, she was able to partially hide her rock, forcing Pat Sanders into the draw, and she slipped through, enabling Ontario to steal the point and win it by a score of 6-5. Tracy Kennedy, Diane Adams, Lorraine Lang, and Heather Houston from the Lakehead Curling Club in Thunder Bay, the 1980.
Houston's make that Thunder Bay's Heather Houston rink. They run up after opposition, closing with a very impressive 8-1 record. According to Heather, though, they won't be enough when the national championships start.
We take the same attitude that we've taken all the way along. We're enjoying this game, and we're having a lot of fun playing, and we're all good shooters. And you take one game at a time. Everybody sort of thought that was a strange thing to say. Curling is a very funny game. You take it one shot at a time, one end at a time, one game at a time, and that seems to be what works for us. As far as Canadians are concerned, I think it's a big advantage having winners in the city already. And you realize that being a Northerner is great, and we're going in there confident, and we have to play real well.
Sports information is Randy Schiff.
The Heather Houston rink hopes to regain the momentum that they rode to the Ontario Ladies Curling Championship recently. John Nagy caught up with Heather's rink today before they departed, and they are embarking on the Canadian title in Fredericton, New Brunswick this weekend.
Curling team are taking their show on the road once again this week as they boarded a flight to Fredericton, New Brunswick to compete in the Canadian Women's Scott Tournament of Hearts Curling Championships. We caught up to Heather and her crew just before they boarded their flight, where she said the team is going to the championships in the right frame of mind.
We're very confident going in. We're playing very well. We're looking for some tough competition, and there will definitely be a lot down there. We hope to play very well.
And playing well has become a trademark of the Houston rink. Besides rookie Skip Houston, the rink that won the Ontario Championships in Sudbury with an 8-1 record includes 3rd Lorraine Lang, 2nd Diane Adams, and lead Tracy Kennedy. Lang, who has been to the National Mixed Championships with Briar-bound husband Rick before, says this year's field has very few veterans, so the championships should be wide open.
Most of the teams are new teams. There's a team from the territories that has been there several times, and they've been together a long time, but most of the other teams are new.
The Houston rink is also a new team to the Canadian Women's Championships, but if they play the same way they played in the Ontario Championships, Thunder Bay will be looking at a new Canadian champion. John Nagy, Thunder Bay Television Sports.
3 of the 4 women on Skip Heather Houston's rink, there was no second guessing on who the boys behind the bags were. 3rd, Lorraine Lang would compete against husband Rick. 2nd, Jimmy Adams would take on wife Diane, while lead Tracy Kennedy also kept the competition all in the family, doing battle against spouse Bruce. Anchoring the family feud was a debagged Skip Al Hackner against counterpart Heather Houston. Now, they were playing for all the money in the world, a bag full of chocolate coins wrapped in foil, of which the men conveniently left at home. They felt, why bring the bounty when they would just have to take it home anyway?
There's a lot on the line, more than money, I'll tell you. It's all for fun now. We've played ladies teams before, and it's always a difficult situation, you know, going out, but now it's our wives, it's even more difficult.
During some of the play, it was a classic case of backseat curling. The guys, though, more vocal than the girls when a shot was missed or when a shot was made.
What do you say?
Hell of a try. Robbed. Story of our year.
Robbed?
Robbed. Call the cops. Cops, here they come.
So far, so good?
Yeah, pretty good. We're having a lot of fun, that's for sure.
You guys gonna stick it to them?
Yep. We're gonna do our best.
I mean, this is all fun and games, but I mean, still competition, right?
That's for sure. We wanna win this one and put them in their place.
This is the first annual husband-wife contest?
Yeah. So
Either way, we have to live with it at home.
What's the strategy?
Well, we're just trying to keep everything clean, and they're not drying that well, so we want to keep them drying.
Everybody else is having a good time because they've got people kidding them around, but I never wanted to play Al, so it's going to be over soon.
You never wanted to play him?
Yep.
Is it a personal vendetta or what?
No, I just never wanted to play Al.
Has it turned out to be a good experience so far or bad?
Ask me in half an hour.
During that half hour, another memorable moment. This time it was the women vocalizing a little difference of opinion. And this is how it ended. Hackner's hammer just missed the mark, so the women go on to win it 7-4. Seeing as it was an all-in-the-family sort of thing, the traditional handshake was not enough to seal the victory.
We had a great time. Like, it was just for fun, and Al's a hero around here, so we're having a good time.
You guys came with the bags on your head. You're leaving with the bags on your head. What does it say about your game today?
Hopefully we can go back to the practice board and keep working on our game, and we'll take them on next